Hello everybody, it's Girls Got Game and...
Maximus.
And we are back with Danganronpa 2. How's everyone doing today? Before we get into the light novel Danganronpa If, I want to show you guys what I did after the last stream. Which is lost my mind because I got all the things.
Got the achievement.
Sweet, sweet achievement. So, here's all the things I thought I'd show to you guys and to Max.
Yep.
So, it's a wooden branch on the island. That means it's starting gear, which we did before.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, FMX. And hello, Catherine and Viviana.
Viviana, FMX.
How are you guys doing?
This is a wooden branch found on the island. A good quality branch that's hard to break. A broom used for sweeping away dead leaves. Made in Japan.
Nice.
In Japan.
In Japan.
A wooden sword from the souvenir store. Used to dry laundry. What a nice day today.
Wooden beam shaped by master carpenters.
Japanese Cleara branch used for Shinto religious services.
Yeah, exactly, Catherine. Many hours later. You're better off bashing things with those than using psi power.
Yeah, sigh. Handcrafted broom, a must for any witch.
This tree branch burns with a furious flame.
When planted on the moon, this tree branch is known to sprout into the fairy Spriggan. Wow.
Okay, wow, that was some lore.
Yeah, that is some serious description.
Yeah. Hello, Alma, how are you? Good to see you.
Whoa.
A rod bestowed to those who have overcome personal weakness through great effort and spirit.
A rod that belongs to a witch who rules over a pastel-colored world.
Interesting. A rod that belongs to a witch who fights alongside the hero she loves. Okay.
What is this one? A rod that can only be wielded by masters. There's a Jolly Roger on it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
A magic rod with the power to find gold veins. Gold nuggets are found even more often.
There's a space in the more.
That's right. More often.
More. A rod that incinerates foes with just one flick of its blue flames.
A stick meant for conquest possesses an overwhelming hidden power.
Despair rod.
Yeah.
A rod said to have been wielded by a child of despair.
I wonder who. And a rod that transforms hope into power. Even the mightiest tree grows from a small seedling.
Space in the small.
Small seedling. Alright, so that was the stick. And then, okay, this thing took me 2 hours to get.
Yeah, that exact thing.
That
Yeah.
thing.
Wow.
I grinded for 2 hours. I got
Wow.
everything else like so
Made
easy.
so many times.
I tried so many different
You
levels.
think that once you've unlocked something that you've gotten already, that they wouldn't keep giving that one to you?
No, they keep giving it
Yeah,
to you.
it's a bit dumb to do that, but whatever.
I'm just like, oh. Like, I got this so early, and then
Yes.
this thing was like forever.
Wow, okay.
Okay, so we did that one.
Yeah. Freshman ribbon. A ribbon decorated with a cherry blossom design. The entrance ceremony is tomorrow.
Oh. A ribbon decorated with a polka dot design, just like that.
A reversible headband. Show your team spirit.
Nice. The hairpin. A hairpin decorated with a big camellia blossom. It has a gorgeous, mature air to it.
Bunny ears headband. Oh wait.
Rabbit ears. It's
Rabbit-
weird when Monami wears it. Because she already has the rabbit ears.
Yeah. Feather scrunchie, a soft,
Fluffy.
fluffy hairpin.
There you go. This ribbon comes with a comb. Wait. Monami has no hair. Wait.
Bride's veil. A white veil worn by brides.
Wow. A ribbon designed to look good with a kimono.
Pop star. A ribbon made from a popular female singer's hair.
Ew. When you wear this ribbon, it puts you in a dour mood.
2 tax gold. A ribbon that controls both glory and catastrophe. Doubles the appearance rate of gold ingots.
That is not how you spell ingots. I don't think that's how you spell ingots. Hold on. A ribbon said to be made by a witch who was good at polymorph magic.
BPM. Headphones shaped like a ribbon. Sound races through your ears at full speed.
And this thing, a ribbon with the power to rewind time. They say a mysterious rabbit made it.
Made it, yeah.
I know, Catherine. I'm like, that was such bad luck that day.
Swallowtail. A ribbon with a swallowtail butterfly pattern on it. Has the power to fight fate.
A fairy's ribbon that changes its color and pattern depending on the environment.
Despair ribbon. A ribbon said to have been worn by a child of despair.
A ribbon that transforms hope into power. Ahem. The newborn's cries of hope will echo throughout the world and cut through the fog of despair. There you go. And finally, the diapers.
Yes. Crawl a diaper. The perfect diaper for babies who have started to crawl.
A diaper made for babies so they can comfortably play in the water.
Copyrighted diaper. This diaper is printed with the main character from the anime Pretty Pudgy Princess.
Hey! Shout out to Pretty Pudgy Princess.
Yeah.
Wool pants. These pants are worn over your underwear. Duh. Perfect for trapping heat.
Holy diaper. A cloth diaper consisting of various colors. Up to 12 pairs can be worn at once.
Dang. Alright, a premium diaper made of organic cotton that gently caresses the skin.
Old man's grass skirt. A grass skirt made for traditional dancing. Increases the appearance of present boxes.
So that's what I wore for most of my grinding,
Yes.
to try to get the
Get
present
all that
boxes.
stuff going on, yeah.
Stealth scanties. Underwear made for adult situations. It's not really covering much.
Normal undies. Conventional underwear worn by the ultimate unlucky student.
Who's the unlucky?
I know, right? What's going on?
Men's underwear worn by the ultimate clairvoyant. Oh, isn't that
That's Hero?
Yeah,
The first game?
Yasuhiro, yeah.
Yasuhiro, yeah.
Like, wait.
Briefs of resolution. Underwear worn by the ultimate moral compass.
Is that Taka?
I think so.
Probably. Underwear worn by the ultimate gambler.
Which
Celeste?
was Celeste, yeah. All or nothing. Underwear worn by the ultimate martial artist during serious battles. So that's
Sakura.
Sakura.
Yeah. Name brand underwear worn by the ultimate affluent progeny. We got Byakuya's underwear again in 2
Yeah.
games.
Bayonet bikini. Bikini style underwear worn by the ultimate soldier.
Mukuro Ikusaba.
Watch out for her.
Sparkling white underwear worn by the ultimate pop sensation.
Sayaka.
Yep.
Mystery Cruise. Mysterious underwear worn by the ultimate detective.
Kyoko.
Yep.
A diaper said to have been worn by a child of despair. So that's Junko's.
Hope Cloth Beam 1000. A diaper that transforms hope into power. Oh, prestigious one, ease our despair and guide us into the future.
Alright.
Alright, yeah.
There you go.
Very
So that
nice
was
description.
that was everything. That's all she wrote.
Yeah.
Alright. Now that we've fooled around enough. It's time to get into the novel.
Yeah.
So let's see what this is about, I guess.
Fenrir.
Fenrir! Should I do from the beginning or character introduction?
I have no idea. What's the difference?
Let's do
Character introduction?
Yeah, let's see.
Okay, so we give them descriptions of all the characters from the first game.
Okay, cool.
You want to read through these again, or you just want to just briefly skim them?
Yeah, we can just skim through them. It's the ultimate moral compass.
Yeah.
Okay, Lucky. Affluent progeny.
Yep.
Biker gang leader. He's wearing white today.
Yeah, you're wearing white in that one.
Leon. It's hard to hit.
Yeah.
The ultimate fanfic creator. He's been held back a few times. Yeah, I was wondering, Catherine, if it was a bit loud. I will see what I can do about that. Thanks, Catherine. Let's see. So that's Saika. Ultimate question mark, because we have forgotten everything about her.
Yeah, I know.
Why are you?
We don't remember now.
Okay, I was about to be like, why are you the only one in the swimsuit? But I forgot that she was a swimming.
Yeah,
pro.
she's the one that swam.
It's fine. Sakura. Celestia Ludenberg. She is Japanese, in case you're wondering.
Oh.
Her true identity is... Okay, Chihiro Fujisaki. And Mukuro Ikusaba.
Yeah.
Okay, combat specialist who has mastered handling various weapons. Ever since she was a child, she has had a special interest in mystery stories and is completely engrossed by them. Okay. Let's see what we can do about this sound. Okay, I'll jump in and see if I can access the options from there. If not, I'll have to turn down the sound in OBS for you guys. So hang tight. Okay. How is the sound now? Is it still too loud, guys? Because I can turn it down.
It doesn't seem to let you change the sound in here.
No, I think like the sound for the game is separate from the light novel. So if it is too loud, I can just turn it down a bit. And also for us too. Let's see. How about we just... It's still the same, Catherine? Okay, that's what I was wondering. I'm gonna turn it down to like... Alright. Let me know how that is, if it's too quiet or if it's better. Hopefully it's better.
Yeah.
Okay. Monokuma's monologue. The world is full of ifs. Just full of them. It is better? Okay. Would you like it to be quieter still, or is this okay, do you think? If Adam hadn't tied the knot with Eve, society as we know it never would have been born. The world that everyone lives in is just one outcome among countless ifs, and will continue to be a muddled world overflowing with infinite ifs. If is what's in miso soup, you know. What lies beyond this point is a scary world filled with iffy stepfathers who abandon their families. A Klein bottle where the inside and the outside are filled with uncertainty. Ah, but don't break it, okay? It'd be so expensive that there's no way you'd ever be able to pay me back. Ahem! But no matter how you look at it, ifs are simply worlds like any other. No matter how hypothetical the story may be, the future is the only thing that's truly foggy. And the past is more solid than a frozen banana. Alright. Okay, great. Thanks, Catherine. You can't change a conclusion that has already happened. Even if you see a world that may have existed, it wouldn't affect the people living in reality. Because if is only if, after all. Even if a parallel world exists where a particular if actually happened, humans cannot cross the boundaries between worlds that easily. No matter how far if goes, it will always be a what if scenario. Do you really want to see that? You've got some sick interests. Don't you think that's an insult to Makoto and the others after the tragedy they overcame? Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'll still insult them. If you're gonna look at if, I think it's better if you view the outside of the Klein bottle first. It might even be better if you view the ending of a video game called Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. Try to play it multiple times, and spend your free time with Junko and Ashima at least 3 times too. It may be ideal if you can collect all the items and movies too. Yep, don't worry, we already did all that, man. But if you guys have come this far, I'm sure you've already done all that. Still, I'd buy the game if I were you. I'd actually buy at least 2 copies if I were you. The curtain lowers. Hooray!
The Button of Hope and the Tragic Warriors of Despair.
The Button of Hope? The old store. I don't know.
Who are we speaking us? Might be, I don't know, is it Mukuro?
Yeah, either Mukuro or Makoto?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who should be saying this.
I don't know. I'll pretend it's Mukuro.
Mm-hmm.
What should I do with this? Nope.
Okay.
It's Makoto.
Makoto Naegi was at a loss.
Actually, I'll be. Should I narrate as Monokuma or just as normal person?
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever you prefer. It might be a strain to keep doing the Monokuma
Okay,
voice.
I'll do it as a normal voice, unless it's like hoo, and then I'll be like, okay.
What should I do with this?
Makoto Naegi was at a loss. Despite his hesitation, his situation was extremely simple and composed of 3 key factors. The first factor was that Makoto was currently locked inside a school. Hope's Peak Academy is a school for the privileged elite, and each student attending possesses ultimate talent. Makoto was chosen to attend Hope's Peak Academy by a lottery held to select the ultimate lucky student. When he arrived for his first day of school, he immediately lost consciousness, and when he woke up, he saw all the exits and windows had been sealed shut. The next factor was Monokuma, a mysterious robot bear being operated by the mastermind, and the announcement he made to all the students. "You'll be living your whole life in this academy," he declared. "If you want to leave, then kill someone and become the Blackened." Zachary, hello, you Spider-Man too hard. No worries, we just started the novel, so you're totally fine. Nice to have you. This strange remote-controlled robot was telling Makoto and his fellow Ultimates to start killing each other in exchange for their freedom. They learned that more than one Monokuma exists, and that each one contains a bomb to prevent anyone from attacking them. On top of that, Monokuma announced that anyone who attempted to harm him would receive punishment. The third and final factor was the red button that Makoto was currently holding in his hand. The words "escape button" were crudely written on this button in marker. Oh yeah, I remember that from the first game.
Oh.
That was like the alternate ending. Was you got like the escape button from the vending machine and then...
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can hardly remember it.
That's why they're like, you should get all the items.
Mm-hmm.
And though the first 2 factors were certainly causes for panic, Makoto only seemed at a loss over the third. During his free time, Makoto noticed that the school store was open, and his curiosity got the better of him. He was overwhelmed by the disjointed atmosphere upon entering, but his attention soon focused on a strange vending machine. The words "Mono Mono Machine" were written on it, and it seemed to accept the strange bear-patterned coins they sometimes found inside the school. Coins! It seemed like a bad idea, but Makoto thought there might be a chance that this machine could dispense some way of escaping the school. And so, he inserted the only coin he had into the coin slot, and the result was the escape button mentioned earlier. There's a limit to how much you can tease us. Maybe the mastermind who trapped us in here is making a cruel joke. These thoughts filled Makoto's mind, and he began to feel deeply discouraged. However...
There's always a chance, right?
Yeah, exactly, Catherine. Coin! Makoto was just an ordinary boy, and he only gained entry to Hope's Peak Academy through a lottery to find the ultimate lucky student. Maybe that luck was the real deal.
If this button is real, maybe I can let Sayaka...
Makoto took a deep, slow breath and pressed the button. Instantly, pain burst through his entire body.
Ah!
Makoto's arms and legs went limp as he lost his balance and fell to the floor in a crumpled heap. As he breathed heavily, it dawned on him what had just happened.
I got electrocuted.
He looked down at the button in his hand and noticed a small needle sticking out of it. Ow! Makoto quickly surmised that an electric current must have been running through it. After regaining enough of his strength to stand back up, Makoto thought about it once again. That wasn't very lucky of him.
Yeah, that was not lucky.
I should have known. It was a fake.
Just how sick and twisted was the mastermind?
My head still feels a little woozy.
Hello, Samantha. Welcome. Yeah, you came in just in time for the ouch.
I should go back to my room and rest today.
Yeah, always resting.
Always resting. You've been lurking? No worries. With that in mind, Makoto walked out of the school store with slow, careful steps. My mistake, Samantha. But hello to you now that I can see you in chat. But Makoto didn't know yet. If the escape button really was a fake, it would have been an act of mercy from the mastermind. A small, bear-shaped shadow began moving around inside the now empty school store. The shadow, Monokuma, stood before the Mono machine and stared at it silently. But after some time had passed, he began to laugh. A cold, hollow laugh utterly devoid of emotion. Despite the fact that he was alone, Monokuma began to talk, almost as if he was speaking to someone. Perhaps Monokuma was talking directly to the mastermind controlling him. I only put that in the Mono machine because I thought it'd be interesting if one of the last few survivors happened to win it. But with a success rate of 0.0000001%, I never thought anyone would actually win it. Perhaps I should have expected the ultimate lucky student to overcome such impossible odds. Monokuma started blushing and breathing heavily for no apparent reason. A robot like Monokuma doesn't need to breathe, but because his technology is super advanced, he can express himself like a living creature. Makoto was chosen through a lottery, and now he's won the escape button through a lottery.
He got lucky to get that
Yeah.
button to come out of the machine.
That's right. This is obviously impossible, right? Is this what a miracle is? Is this all systems go toward escaping? Is something that defies all common sense about to come crashing into my world? Well, even though I don't really want this at all, I'm starting to enjoy this new sensation. We'll be back after these commercials. How funny would it be if all you guys just got an ad after that? And you're like, whoa,
Yeah,
Monokuma
whoa.
summoned it. Monokuma's internal machinery began running at full capacity, and his facial expressions began changing more smoothly than any humans could. Suddenly, his expressions immediately stopped, and he whispered through his speakers, "But is this really good luck?" After muttering something so ominous, Monokuma's loud, screeching laughter rang jarringly throughout the room. The situation that was about to unfold contained two conflicting emotions in equal measure: hope and despair. Blank.
Blank.
The next day, nighttime, student dormitory, Makoto's room. Makoto Naegi lay on his bed, desperately struggling with the despair and hope churning within him. Monokuma had forced the students to each watch a DVD earlier that day. Makoto showed a scene that suggested his parents and little sister were in danger, and he now found himself determined to leave the school. It seems the other students were forced to watch shocking videos of their own. Videos so shocking that they were now determined to escape the school too. even if it meant sacrificing someone to do it. However, it was obvious that these videos were part of Monokuma's trap. As long as a student killed someone, they were allowed to graduate and leave the academy. It seemed that the mastermind controlling Monokuma was hell-bent on making the students kill each other. But right now, Makoto was most worried about Sayaka Maizono, who seemed to be incredibly distressed after watching her DVD. Sayaka wasn't just the ultimate pop sensation. She was also Makoto's classmate when they were students at Blackroot Junior High. Her optimism had been encouraging Makoto these past few days, and he was becoming a similar sense of strength for her as well. Yes.
If nothing else, I have to at least save Sayaka.
As soon as Makoto thought that, he suddenly felt a small headache. Was he still reeling from being punched by Mondo the other day? I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
Or was this a side effect of being electrocuted by the escape button? As Makoto pondered these things, the pain slowly subsided, and he returned to his determined thoughts of escape.
Anyway, we all need to work together, and... Huh?
At that moment, Makoto realized his goal had changed slightly.
We all need to?
Ideally, it would be best if everyone survived together. However, aside from Sayaka, Makoto had never met the other students before. He didn't know if they could even be trusted in the first place. But at that moment, he trusted them without even an ounce of suspicion. He believed they were worth helping even at the cost of his own life. Just like Sayaka.
Why?
The headache struck again, as if all the blood vessels in his brain were being individually sliced open.
Why did I just think that I could trust the others as much as I trust Sayaka?
Makoto tried to figure out why his thought process had suddenly changed. Something was wrong. The throbbing pain in his head seemed to synchronize with a strange feeling that something was approaching him. As a ray of light began to form within the dark recesses of his own mind, the doorbell rang.
Someone's here?
He quickly got out of bed, but that only made the headache worse. With no concern for his safety. It's so true. Makoto carelessly opened the door to his room and came face to face with Sayaka with a knife.
Yeah.
Sayaka. I'm really sorry to come by so late.
Sayaka?
The pain.
What are you doing out so late?
The moment he saw her face, the pulsating pain in Makoto's head began accelerating. He felt like his world was being torn apart from the inside out. Sorry to bother you, but something really weird just happened and... Makoto? What's wrong? You don't look so well. Okay, so this is the night she was going to put her plan into action for Leon. Sayaka was pale and had been trembling when she came to Makoto's room, but she seemed surprised to see that his complexion was worse than her own.
Yeah. I'm fine. It's just my head.
This is when Sayaka just took out Makoto, because she's like,
I know, right?
Well, it's easier. Because he's like, you can't fight back right now. Makoto couldn't finish his sentence. His eyes rolled back into his head as he lost consciousness and slowly fell to the floor. And Sayaka's beautiful voice let out a scream as she stood over Makoto's body. Ah! The next day, the nurse's office. How did you get access to the nurse's office?
Already, because
that's on another floor.
That second floor, right?
Second or third? Because it was
Second.
well, it might be the second floor.
Second floor had a swimming pool, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Going up the stairs. It's like right there, right?
Yeah.
I think. Maybe it was on the first floor.
Maybe it might have been.
Might have been on the ground floor.
I thought it was up. It is on the first floor? Oh, it just didn't open until later. Gotcha.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, I thought it opened up later in the game. So that's why. Because it
Okay.
is on the first floor, but it didn't open until later. Good to know. Thank you. The next day, the nurse's office. Oh, you're awake. Hey! You okay? How many fingers am I holding up? As Makoto... Oh, no, that's Junko.
Oh.
Okay.
Wait,
Because
how do you tell?
long fake nails.
Long face. Yeah.
I'm like, that's not
you think
Sayaka.
that's Mukuro.
Oh, yeah, Mukuro pretending to be Junko.
Pretending to be Junko.
Oh, you're awake! Hey, you okay? How many fingers am I holding up? As Makoto regained consciousness, he was greeted by the sight of fingers adorned with long fake nails being waved in his face.
Huh? You're Junko, right?
Hey, why do you sound so unsure? I'm a little shocked to hear you say that. Despite what she said, Junko Enoshima, the ultimate fashionista, was laughing as if she found this all very amusing. Makoto looked around and realized he'd never seen this place before. It looked somewhat like a hospital. 3 beds, including his own, were lined up in the room with various medical instruments laid around them. The black ceiling felt strangely oppressive. I never noticed the ceiling was black.
It was a black ceiling.
I'm like, huh. But as he sat up, Makoto's mind immediately centered on one possibility.
Where are we? Did we get rescued?
That'd be nice, huh? She replied as she looked away. Junko explained that this was the nurse's office on the first floor of the academy. That Monokuma thing said, I can't bear to see my precious students getting sick and opened this place up this morning. But don't you think it's suspicious? What if all these meds are poison?
To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised.
Makoto remembered his encounter with the escape button and let out a small sigh.
So why am I here, Junko?
You should thank Sayaka for that. She was here the whole night taking care of you.
She was?
Junko ignored Makoto's surprise and continued casually talking. But then Taka got all fired up and was like, we should take turns watching over him. I just happened to be on duty when you woke up. Well, and even then, only because Byakuya. This is beneath me.
I see. Thanks.
Like I said, you should thank Sayaka. Anyway, how are you feeling? Is everything alright?
Huh?
Makoto thought about it for a moment and remembered what he had been thinking about just before he lost consciousness.
This is kind of weird, but actually, it's a really weird question, but
What's up?
Junko, we've never met each other before, right?
Upon hearing this, Junko's eyes widened, but a few seconds later she began to laugh. Huh? Are you for real? That pickup line is like so totally played out, you know. Even though she was grinning, a serious look came over her face. Just so you know, you shouldn't expect anything like that from me. I know I look this way, but I take my virtue pretty seriously.
No. I mean, I never expected.
Well, that's what I figured. It's obvious that you're a total Omega male anyway. Damn, got him. Oh no, he's on to us.
No.
We gotta take him out quick. Makoto and Junko continued to talk to one another. Although he wondered why Junko was talking to him instead of leaving to get the others, Makoto didn't question it. He just wanted to talk to someone. Anyone. As long as he interacted with his fellow students, he believed he would learn the truth about what was going on inside his head. 10 minutes later. Junko mostly talked about alpha males and omega males, her time being homeless, and about her past and her dreams for the future. The last topic was a lot heavier than the previous ones, but Makoto's calm demeanor seemed to cheer her up. She smiled sincerely and said softly, "Thanks, Makoto." Maybe it was a sign of gratitude for listening to her troubles, but she kept that same smile as she blurted out something horrifying. In return, I promise that if I do decide to kill someone, it won't be you.
Don't say scary stuff like that.
At least, that's what Makoto thought. But the words that came out of his mouth expressed a different sentiment.
I see. Thanks. But I wouldn't want you to become the Blackened in the first place.
For some reason, Makoto felt like the murderous words that came out of Junko's mouth seemed like a natural thing for her to say. She seemed very surprised by Makoto's response and quickly blurted out, Huh? Are you serious? I was just kidding.
Huh? Oh yeah, of course. Sorry for acting so weird.
No worries. Let's just chalk this up to you being woozy from your recovery. She returned to her usual bubbly self, let out a big stretch, and turned to Makoto. I'm gonna get going now. Make sure you don't get killed before the next person arrives. After seeing her off, Makoto laid back down in the bed and started thinking to himself.
What is this strange feeling?
His dull headache continued as his thoughts began to blur.
I was just talking to Junko, but I feel like I was talking to someone else. Who is she?
The more he thought, the more it felt like his memories were sinking into a thick swamp. Each throb of pain pulsing in his head felt like a wave on the surface of that swamp.
What is this feeling?
It felt very unpleasant, as though someone's voice was screaming at him from inside his head. Makoto tried to organize his thoughts and go over everything that had happened to him. But he was interrupted by the sound of a bell. Unlike the dorm rooms, the nurse's office didn't have a doorbell. The bell sound that Makoto heard was ringing throughout the entire building. Ahem! Ahem! Testing! Mic check 1, 2. This is a test of the school broadcast system. It was Monokuma's voice. Now that Makoto has finally woken up, please assemble at the gym. Makoto listened to Monokuma's heartless order and got out of bed without complaining.
I have to go.
He walked one step at a time, in accordance with the rhythm of his throbbing headache. Gosh, I hate when you have headaches like that,
Yes.
and it's like every movement you make just is like throb.
Yes.
Like, ugh.
Yes.
Slowly he walked forward, not knowing if where he was headed was heaven or hell. Womp, womp, womp.
The gym.
The gym. Makoto, are you all right? Sayaka ran over to Makoto as soon as he entered the gym.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry about yesterday. I guess I really worried you.
Please don't apologize. I'm sorry too. I barged into your room when you weren't feeling well. Okay, so does that mean her murder was delayed?
Because he got sick.
Yeah, so she wasn't able to switch rooms with him. So what happened to Leah? Did he go to...
Did he still go to her room because she had already put the
note
in
there?
place,
Yeah.
right?
But maybe he was like, oh, well, Makoto got sick, so whatever.
Now that you mention it,
Said Makoto.
what happened yesterday?
Sayaka looked away for a brief moment, but immediately turned back, smiled her pop sensation smile, and shook her head. It's nothing. I'll tell you some other time.
Huh?
While they were talking, Kiyotaka Ishimaru, the ultimate moral compass, stepped forward, pointing an accusatory finger at Makoto.
You're late, Mikoto! Explain why you are tardy!
The other students collectively raised their eyebrows as if they were thinking, why is this guy yelling at someone who was sick? However, Makoto just smiled gently and answered him honestly.
I didn't feel well, so I was resting in the nurse's office. Can you note that in the daily logbook?
I see. That's consistent with my information. If that's the case, then I shall consider this matter settled.
The conversation progressed smoothly, and Taka smiled as he kept talking.
Ha ha ha! I'll take full responsibility for recording it. You just focus on recovering. If you ever feel ill, please report to the health committee.
It seems we'll need to appoint...
Oh, who's talking here?
Probably Makoto? It's hard to tell, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe he's
It
still
might be.
talking
It
now?
might be Taka still.
Yeah.
It's just because of the end quotation marks.
It seems we'll need to appoint health committee members after this meeting, though.
Yeah, there you go. You're right.
Yeah.
Taka walked away, mumbling to himself as he opened a daily logbook he found in the academy supply room. Celestia Ludenberg, the ultimate gambler, saw the whole conversation and walked up to Makoto. Despite his unreasonable behavior, you knew exactly what to say to him.
Huh?
Huh?
He's always saying, huh?
Huh?
Yeah, he's always saying, huh?
Oh, I miss Makoto. As soon as Celeste said that, it dawned on Makoto. It's true that he didn't feel well, and that he had been resting in the nurse's office. But when Taka asked him why he was late, even though he should have already known the reason, Makoto didn't feel annoyed or disappointed at all. It was as if he expected Taka to say that. Makoto felt strange that he had accepted Taka's personality so quickly. He couldn't understand why he asked Taka to do something as unnecessary as recording it in the daily logbook in the first place.
Why did I say that? It's like I was used to it.
His response to Taka's demands came as naturally to him as breathing.
Why?
Every time he tried to think about it, his headache grew even worse. As Makoto struggled to think through the pain of his headaches, a black and white stuffed animal jumped out from behind the gym's podium and began twirling around as it spoke in a cheerful voice. Hey guys! Is everyone here? He sounded like he was about to lead the students on a field trip, but not a single one of them had a smile on their faces.
What is it this time? Are we gonna hijack a cruise ship and run into a gigantic worm?
Of course, there was one exception. Yasuhiro Hagakure? I think it's Hagakure.
Hagakure or something?
Yeah.
Hagakure?
The ultimate clairvoyant still believed their current situation was some kind of planned event. Monokuma just ignored him and continued to address the students with his adorable voice.
Maybe that was him talking earlier.
Yeah,
but
are we gonna-
I wouldn't be able to, I couldn't tell.
You couldn't tell from context
Yeah.
clues. Today, I'm going to tell you about our wonderful academy system. System sure sounds like a great word, don't you think? It reeks of danger, just like a bear. I want you all to trample over the deaths of your friends and grow up to have hardened hearts. It's good to be a little naughty. I want you all to grow poisonous personalities. After making his nonsensical introduction, Monokuma moved on to the next topic. With this, he began providing a detailed explanation of the most vile system in the school, the class trial. Now, you can't just kill someone. You gotta kill someone without anyone else finding out you did it. Monokuma talked about his horrible graduation program with casual indifference. But because a killing hadn't happened yet, his lecture didn't instill any despair in the students. As long as a killing never occurred, there'd be no point to the class trial. But no one could really say that a killing wasn't going to happen. As the students' suspicions began to rise, Monokuma continued explaining the class trial until... Wait, hold on a second! As Monokuma began to explain the executions that would serve as punishment, one girl stepped forward. Probably Makoto asking that.
Junko?
As soon as he saw how angry she was, the rhythm of Makoto's headache began to change slightly. You're freaking insane, you know that? The girl continued to complain angrily. She seemed completely different from the smiling person Makoto saw in the nurse's office.
Huh? Was Junko always like that? No, she's different. That's how Junko acts, but... is that person really Junko? Huh? Wait, what am I thinking?
As Makoto struggled with his headache and confusion, Monokuma and the girl continued to argue. What? Are you saying you're not going to participate in the trial? Only punishment awaits such blasphemy! What? Punishment? I don't know, throw you in a deep, dark, scary prison or something.
Different.
The strange feeling he felt was now directed at Monokuma.
A prison? No. They aren't that kind.
A series of images flashed in Makoto's mind, and at first he thought it was some kind of parade. But he quickly realized that was a mistake. What looked like lights were actually buildings engulfed in flames. The red decorating the scene seemed to have come from human bodies. Pink. Despair. It wasn't confined to the academy or even to Japan. Images of worldwide death and destruction flooded Makoto's brain with every throb of his headache.
I've seen this before?
Besides the indescribable violence taking place in all these images, there was one thing they had in common.
Who are they? They're...
Rampaging terrorists wearing black and white masks were wreaking havoc in these images. They took everything. Money, valuables, lives, families, dignity, the past, the future, and possibly even hope. The masks these terrorists were wearing perfectly resembled the face of the stuffed animal arguing with the student before him. Shut the hell up! Say whatever you want. I'm not going to be part of this! Don't be so selfish! You're the one being selfish! Kill whoever you want. It's got nothing to do with me! The evil standing here before me. I'm trembling with fear. But I won't give in to such evil. It's my style to stick it out and resist till the very end. Or is that...
Okay, if you really want to get out of here, you have to go through me
It's probably still Mukuro. If you really want to get out of here, you'll have to go through me first. Or it could be Monokuma.
Might be Monokuma saying...
It might be Monokuma.
Okay, I guess Monokuma is supposed to be a full sentence.
Yeah,
If you really want to get out of it, you'll have to go through me first. But that's Monokuma's line.
Yeah, that was Monokuma. Okay.
Yeah.
Weird. It's hard to figure out who is talking from
Yes.
context sometimes.
Yeah.
Monokuma swung his arms wildly as he charged at the girl with waddling steps. But the girl stomped on the self-proclaimed headmaster of the academy with ease.
Yeah.
Damn it!
This is Mukuro now?
I think so.
Yeah, because she's supposed to have her foot on him before she kills.
The spears of
Monokuma
Gungnir.
kills her.
Are you enjoying yourself now? Pinned beneath the girl's foot, Monokuma looked up into the girl's cold eyes and calmly asked, Are you? Huh? Violence against Headmaster Monokuma is not allowed. You violated a school regulation. At that moment, a chill ran down Makoto's spine.
She's going to get killed.
Monokuma's words sounded very threatening to him. It wasn't a prediction or a guess. It was as if he knew the danger Monokuma posed from the start.
If this continues, Junko's going to...
His mind still didn't fully grasp the situation unfolding in front of him. By the time he realized he was about to remember something, he was already running forward.
Junko?
The impact of his feet, combined with the rhythm of his headache, sending his brain and heart into a panic.
No. She's different. She's...
I invoke the mighty summon spell! Help! To me, godly spear Gungnir! Monokuma wiggled beneath the girl's foot and let out a scream. At that exact moment, Makoto charged at her and screamed out,
Mukuro! Watch out!
That's so cool.
Yeah.
He, knows who she is.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Whoa. Huh? The girl dressed as Junko Enoshima widened her eyes in shock. As if to evade the charging Makoto, she jumped back with agility unheard of in a teenage high school girl. And then, right at that moment, countless spears pierced the spot where she had been standing just a split second ago.
Huh?
All the students, including the girl, stared wide-eyed at this sudden turn of events. Spears, too many of them to count, had shot out with blinding speed from mechanisms installed in the floor and walls of the gym. However, Makoto was unable to notice this, because he did.
Huh? Why did I call Junko Mukuro? Mukuro?
As that thought entered his mind, a sharp, sudden impact struck his side, followed by an intense, deathly pain that ran down his spine and spread throughout his entire body. The spear stabbed into his side, instantly tore his flesh to shreds, and shot out his back, coated in blood and other bodily fluids. At that moment, the black fog that had engulfed Makoto's mind was consumed by death itself. And as his consciousness slowly faded, he remembered everything. Because of the electric jolt and the chemical compound from the escape button, because of that button that he had found by chance, Makoto Naegi managed to escape. he escaped this hopeless game where he and his fellow students had their memories stolen and were forced to kill each other. Of course, that escape is also what led him to his current life or death predicament. In the end, perhaps he only escaped from one despair to fall into another. I know, the hope of Danganronpa 1 is dead. Well, we're all screwed. But at the same time, his actions had unintended consequences for one person. The girl living a false identity as her beloved little sister, Junko Enoshima.
Little sister.
Mukuro Ikusaba, the ultimate soldier and a member of Ultimate Despair. Her past, her future, perhaps even her hope itself are on the path to despair. And so the curtain falls on Makoto's story, for now. From this point, the story is about a certain girl. A girl who's more pitiful than anyone else in this sealed-off academy. A new curtain, along with new despair, shall now rise. All rise. Huh? Time had certainly stopped for Mukuro Ikusaba. It was as if everything around her had frozen perfectly still. In the past, she was known as the Ultimate Soldier. She had experienced this feeling before, during her time with the mercenary group Fenrir. In situations where she was surrounded by a hopeless number of enemies within the jungle, or in a desert ruin, the charging enemies seemed as though they were frozen in time, which allowed her to claim a decisive victory in all her battles. But this wasn't a battlefield, so why did this familiar sensation activate once again? In order to understand what had happened, Mukuro slowly tried to assess the current situation from within this frozen world. Junko and Mukuro are both children of despair. But Junko Enoshima, the true ultimate despair, harbors a far deeper darkness within her. Though their last names are different, Mukuro is Junko's older sister, connected by the bonds of blood. She cooperated with Junko's hopeless plan and impersonated her under the pretense of participating in the killing game alongside her classmates. According to the plan, Mukuro was supposed to oppose Monokuma, who her sister was controlling, and be locked in a dungeon as punishment. Isolated from the others, she would then escape the dungeon and perform various acts intended to deprive the students of hope. Oh, interesting. So that's why she started, causing trouble. Because the plan was for her to actually be locked in a dungeon.
So, locked in a dungeon, she then would escape the dungeon and perform various acts intended to deprive the students of hope.
Yeah.
So what Junko ended up doing with the mask on and everything? Was she supposed to go around as in disguise?
I think so, because I think she was anticipating that the students wouldn't participate in a killing game so quickly.
Yes.
So it's they're gonna need some motivation, but then it didn't need to happen in the end.
Okay, yeah. Are you okay with still narrating, or do you want me to take over for now?
Yeah, how about we take turns? You can go for a little bit.
Okay, sure. I'll put
Maybe
on
we can
voice.
do it by scene.
Oh, okay.
Or something.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
I think, you are talking quite a lot
I'm
right
like,
now, so... yeah, I don't think Makoto's going to be talking for a long time, so...
He'd be dead.
Which is funny in the end, because he basically, just took a hit that she had already dodged.
I know. Oh man, my string broke.
Oh no.
Oh no, my tea.
That was the wall she had been assigned. When Makoto succumbed to his headache, Junko ordered her to see if the shock had caused him to remember anything that could make him a liability. He woke up as she was tending to him, so she made small talk with him, but she didn't notice any change in his behavior. Until this point, she was certain that there shouldn't be any problems. Nothing could possibly go wrong. She stomped on Monokuma like her sister ordered her to do, and flawlessly spoke the lines she was taught to memorize. Afterward, she would fall through a trap door into the dungeon, and remain isolated from the other students. Did we ever see the dungeon, or was it just that trash heap at the very bottom?
We may not have seen the dungeon.
Yeah.
Because, that was never used.
No, I guess not, yeah.
Yeah, so now Mukuro knows that her sister planned to murder her. Just...
That was her wall. She hadn't done anything wrong. there were no problems. There were no problems. She repeated that to herself over and over like a silent prayer. But in that frozen moment in time, what she saw was not a trapdoor, but countless spears. One of them had skewered Mukuro through his side.
Why? Makoto? Why are there spears? Gungnir? I would have died if I hadn't moved. Did Junko mess up the plan? No, Junko would never mess up. Was she trying to kill me? Me? Makoto saved me? Why? Why did he say my name? Did his memories come back? Did I not realize that? Did I make a mistake? Is that why Junko got angry? Is this punishment? Is it my fault? Junko tried to kill me. Kill me. Kill me. Kill me.
Slowly, time came back to her world. Mukuro could feel her face turning pale as she slowly looked toward Makoto. The students' screams rang throughout the gym. Sayaka was probably the first one to scream. But who screamed first didn't matter to Mukuro.
Who screamed first? Makoto. Why?
Makoto was the ultimate lucky student. He had been her classmate for the past 2 years, and now he was a sacrifice to despair. Not long ago, he had given her an answer of sorts during their conversation in the nurse's office. He was just a pawn in the plan her sister had devised. But now, a feeling of doubt began forming in Mukuro's mind.
What did I want from Makoto?
As her heart churned restlessly, she continued to think.
In return, I promise that if I do decide to kill someone, it won't be you. Was I impersonating Junko then? Or did I really mean that? When did I start feeling this doubt? Just now, the moment he saved me? Or when we spoke in the nurse's office earlier? Or when I first confronted him about this killing game before his memories returned? Or was it even before that?
Mukuro stood there, confused and overwhelmed, as Makoto slowly opened his eyes, the spear still impaling him through the side.
Mukuro?
He truly is lucky. He's still breathing.
He's still alive!
He's still alive! Whoa! That's too bad, Yuli. Thanks for popping in to say hello, though.
Thanks for popping by.
Makoto, are you okay?
Mukuro was no longer impersonating the ultimate fashionista. Looking up from the floor of the gym, Makoto asked,
Why are you dressed up like Junko?
Yep, see you another time, Yuli.
Yeah, see you, Yuli. He was smiling. Maybe he couldn't feel the pain anymore, or maybe he was being affected by something else. But regardless, Makoto ignored the fact that he was dying just to give Mukuro his warm smile.
I'm glad you're safe, Mukuro.
As soon as she heard Makoto's weak, fading voice, something inside Mukuro snapped. From within the shell of despair she had built up, an intense emotion began flowing out.
No. This is all wrong.
She couldn't hold back that emotion any longer.
No. No.
And for the first time in her entire life, Mukuro unleashed a scream into the world. As Mukuro fell to her knees and clutched her head, a small shadow started walking toward her back. The stuffed animal that had been under her foot, Monokuma. His claws were extended, and he was no longer walking with his usual waddle. Instead, he moved like a beast, silently stalking its prey, as he slowly advanced within his target's blind spot. As he inched closer to Mukuro, Monokuma raised his razor-sharp claws, crouched on his haunches, and suddenly leapt toward the back of her neck. However, just before those claws could reach the paralyzed Mukuro, a dark shadow moved in from the side and swatted those claws away with one blow.
Sakura?
Yeah. His lunge deflected. Monokuma was sent flying through the air, spinning wildly before crashing into the wall.
Damn you! What are you trying to do? Yeah!
Yeah, Sakura Ogami, the ultimate martial artist, had just prevented another tragedy. She stood before Monokuma and addressed him in a loud, booming voice.
Not only did you attempt to kill Junko for violating school regulations, you even attacked Makoto, who had nothing to do with this. If you plan to continue acting in such a savage manner, there is no reason for us to play along with your game.
Byakuya Togami, the ultimate affluent progeny, smirked condescendingly at Sakura. Fool. One could say you've now violated school regulations with your senseless actions. He looked as if he honestly did not care if his fellow students lived or died at all.
Who's that? Celeste, okay.
Okay.
Well, she merely deflected the headmaster's attack just now, so I do not think it truly counts as an act of violence.
Like Byakuya, Celeste seemed unfazed as she chided him over his words. Chided him over his words. However, the banter between the two was enough to stir the stunned students to action.
Makoto!
Sayaka was the first one to run toward Makoto, who lay bleeding from his stomach. But Monokuma stopped her, shouting in a tone of voice that seemed completely out of character.
Be careful! Don't get too close to those two! Huh?
Startled by Monokuma's desperate tone, Sayaka and the others stopped moving almost instinctively. The students looked around at each other. Instead of his usual playing gait... Is it gait or gate?
Gate.
Okay, it's gate, okay. Monokuma walked toward them with deliberate, methodical steps. And then, he suddenly blurted out something that took everyone, including Mukuro Ikusaba, by surprise.
I'm sure you're probably confused by this sudden turn of events, but I want you guys to work together!
As Mukuro slowly turned her head toward Monokuma, he pointed at her and yelled,
Mukuro Ikusaba and her accomplice, Makoto Naegi, are the terrorists responsible for locking you all inside the academy!
Once again, time stopped for Mukuro. But this time, she wasn't the only one affected. Everyone seemed to be frozen in shock. After a few seconds of silence, Aoi Asahina, the ultimate swimming pro, spoke first.
Huh? You're kidding, right? I mean, Makoto is a terrorist? That's impossible. And who's Mukuro anyway? I mean, that's Junko.
Monokuma began slowly explaining to Aoi.
The real Junko must be in prison somewhere in this school. Worst case scenario, she might be killed. Mukuro must have researched which one of you would be easiest for her to impersonate, and hid among you all by pretending to be her. She was probably trying to make sure the killing game went smoothly.
Suddenly, Monokuma's hands and feet began jerking in an awkward motion as he looked at the other students and introduced himself.
I'm Beshiki Madarai, the ultimate hacker. I'm your upperclassman. I hacked into the academy from the outside, and I was finally able to take control of Monokuma's body just a little while ago. I'll pretend it's Hina.
Yeah.
Take control? From who? From the head of the terrorist organization that's controlling this robot from the outside. What? What are you saying, Junko?
Mukuro trembled as she heard the words coming out of Monokuma's mouth. For a brief moment, She clung to the hope that her sister wasn't trying to kill her, but as soon as that hope was born, it was immediately consumed by despair. Junko had the power to transform hope into despair. She would never let anyone hack her that easily. I'm hacked.
I'm hacked.
There was only one explanation.
I know, Junko's very quick to adapt.
Yeah.
Like, alright, well, new plan then. I'm still gonna kill her. I'm just gonna get these guys to do
New
it.
name.
Woo.
Junko Inoshima was pretending to be someone named Beshiki in order to frame Mukuro and Makoto. It was as though Junko was using Mukuro's survival as a branching path to lead the students to a different despair. Monokuma continued talking, telling the students more lies designed to prod them to action.
On your first day at Host Peak Academy, you guys were exposed to sleeping gas, knocked unconscious, and taken hostage. Mukuro and Makoto are probably the only operatives that the terrorists sent inside the school. That means they probably know how to escape from here.
And then, Monokuma turned to face Mukuro.
Mukuro Ikusaba was a member of a mercenary group called Fenrir. She's a wanted criminal who's killed over 10 people associated with the school. So don't get soft and think you can capture her alive. In fact, that's exactly what the cops told me. So the moment I saw an opening, I tried hacking the trap they set and tried to kill her. But what about Makoto?
Monokuma gave a cold, emotionless answer to Sayaka's question.
My guess is that a measly little ultimate lucky student didn't stand a chance of defying a group like Fenrir. He was probably threatened and forced to cooperate before you enter the school. Or, judging from his earlier actions, maybe Mukuro seduced him.
Sayaka's face went pale when she heard that answer, and she immediately stopped talking.
I thought we had something special, Makoto.
Mukuro raised her head and shouted,
You're wrong! Makoto isn't a terrorist! You all have to believe me!
The whole gym fell silent, and then, as if he was speaking for everyone there, Taka stepped forward and nervously asked, Hold on! What do you mean? Makoto isn't a terrorist? It sounds like you're saying that there's no doubt that you, in fact, are a terrorist. I ask that you correct yourself at once and say, we are not terrorists. Celeste began expressing her own doubts as well.
It is strange. Does it not seem odd that she is so protective of someone we all just met a few days ago?
Mukuro stood in silence. The other students' faces began to fill with suspicion and doubt as they realized they weren't looking at the real Junko Inoshima. Byakuya pushed up his glasses and began coldly pointing out what seemed out of place to him. I heard that fool Makoto, or whatever his name is, call you Mukuro instead of Junko.
I like that Byakuya pretends to not be invested in people.
Yes.
Being like, that person that I know by name, I mean, you know, not
Yeah.
that I pay attention to names.
Yes,
Just like,
yeah.
good grief, you're just so angsty.
How would Makoto know that your name is really Mukuro if he had just met you not that long ago?
That's...
I've also heard of Fenrir, continued Byakuya. As I recall, its members have a tattoo somewhere on their body. Instinctively, Byakuya's words put Mukuro into a calm state of mind. In hostile situations, her defensive reflexes as the ultimate soldier often manifested themselves. Mukuro's tattoo was on the back of her right hand. She wondered how she could hide this from the other students without also calling attention to it. But in the end, this concern was in vain. If the police's records are true, she should have a tattoo on the back of her right hand.
That might be Monokuma.
It might be Monokuma. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If the police's records are true, she should have a tattoo on the back of her right hand.
As Monokuma freely divulged that information. All right, cried Taka, his voice filled with enthusiasm. Show us the back of your right hand, and prove your innocence. Monokuma dispensed another unnecessary remark.
Make sure you look real close. She might have covered it up with foundation.
Junko had ordered Mukuro to hide her tattoo with foundation, so Monokuma's information was entirely true. There was nothing Mukuro could do except stay quiet. However, she wasn't staying quiet because her identity was about to be exposed. She was struck by the realization that her sister was completely serious about pinning this on her. Why the hesitation? Shouted the foolishly honest Taka. As my classmate, I have complete faith in you. From behind him, Hifumi Yamada, the ultimate fanfic creator, murmured to himself as cold sweat ran down his cheeks.
Well, look at that. I guess this is what they call a checkmate, huh?
Okay, that's Mondo for sure.
Why don't you just fess up already, you effing bastard? In contrast to Hifumi, Mondo Owada, the ultimate biker gang leader, was royally pissed. However, there were some students who were busy questioning Monokuma instead of Mukuro.
Hey, you're not coming to save us? Shouted Leon Kuwata, the ultimate baseball star. You should hurry up and charge in here already.
Monokuma looked at Leon and shook his head softly.
The police can't help you right now. Not only are you guys hostages, it's possible that the entire school has been rigged with explosives and poisonous gas. I hacked into this Monokuma robot to investigate that for myself.
Oh yeah, Saika.
Then what about everyone on that DVD? What about everyone outside the school?
Asked Sayaka. The memory of the DVD she was forced to watch yesterday still weighed heavily on her mind, but Monokuma didn't have a clear answer.
I don't know anything about any DVDs, but there are definitely terrorists causing havoc out here. Law enforcement around the world is in shambles trying to deal with this.
That's impossible!
Sayaka shuddered and collapsed to her knees.
Sayaka.
Next to her, Chihiro Fujisaki, the ultimate programmer, was unsure about what she should do. Behind her, two other girls stood silently. The first one was Toko Fukawa, the ultimate writing prodigy. She seemed to be trying very hard not to look at Makoto as he lay bleeding. Yeah.
Oh no.
She didn't pass out, and switch.
Yeah.
The other was a quiet girl who hadn't talked about herself much, named Kyoko Kirigiri. Unlike Toko, Kyoko was watching everything intently, as if she was studying the scene of a crime. From Makoto's breathing patterns to subtle changes in Mukuro's facial expression, nothing was escaping her attention. Suddenly, Toko began nervously talking to Sakura.
So anyway, let's just say that Mukuro woman or whoever over there is a terrorist. Hurry up and beat her to death or something!
We don't know. Is that. Yeah.
Yeah, Sakura,
We don't know that yet.
said Sakura.
My fists do not mete out justice based on simple speculation.
Sakura tried to get near Makoto to examine his wounds, but Monokuma stood in her way, shouting,
Don't come any closer!
This meant that Mukuro was the only one who could get close to Makoto. She had ended countless lives on the battlefield. She knew from experience. If she didn't treat Makoto's wounds, he would die. His wounds were not immediately fatal, but if he continued losing blood, he would eventually slip into shock and die shortly thereafter. Who's talking here?
Okay, interrupting Mukuro.
Please, you need to treat Makoto first.
Absolutely not, said Byakuya, harshly interrupting Mukuro. Tying you up and examining the back of your right hand is our first priority.
Hey, Makoto's in danger. Now's not the time for that.
Said Aoi.
Now's not the time for that.
Not there. As she cast a worried glance at Makoto. She was still having trouble understanding the situation, and hadn't decided if Makoto was suspicious or not. Byakuya was about to snap back at her, but Mukuro's actions stunned him into silence. She took a deep breath, and then Mukuro removed the blonde wig from her head.
Let's go!
Where there were 2 long blonde pigtails only a moment before, there was now short black hair. She cleared her voice of all emotion, and when she spoke, her voice rang throughout the gym.
I'm not Junko Enoshima. My name is Mukuro Ikusaba.
The students stared wide-eyed at her open confession. All she did was remove her wig and clear her emotions. But in doing so, the person the students had recognized as Junko Enoshima vanished from their sight. The terrorist that had taken her place continued to speak in a calm, stoic tone.
I helped lock everyone inside this academy.
Okay, Hifumi. Yeah.
The confession on a seaside cliff moment has finally arrived!
Hifumi blurted out. Whoa. Wigs are against school regulations, Junko! I mean, Mukuro! Shouted Taka. As if stirred by their cries of excitement, the other students began clamoring among themselves. Huh? Said Yasuhiro. So Mikoto's runes are like, real? Does that mean that stuff about terrorists and whatever is all real too? So everything that's happened these past few days wasn't a bunch of staged events?
Great, good.
As the reality of the situation began dawning on Yasuhiro, all Leon could say to him was, "Shut the hell up!" Byakuya just remained calm and addressed Mukuro in a condescending manner.
Sure.
What does your group want? If you were after money, you would have already tried to negotiate with me. Of course, I'd rather let them die than surrender to your ransom demands.
Our purpose is to fill the world with despair.
Byakuya scoffed at this notion and began to speak once again. I see. Monokuma said something similar. So that ideology is what fuels your terrorism. It's true. If you did anything to me, you would certainly fill the world with despair. But obviously, that would be impossible for you. Aoi couldn't believe what Byakuya was saying, and frowned as she muttered,
How self-centered can you be?
After confirming that Byakuya had no more questions for her, Mukuro looked at Makoto, whose breathing had slowed, and let her voice show some emotion.
But Makoto has nothing to do with this. You can't believe what Monokuma says. Dang.
What did you say, bitch? Shouted Mondo. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're a terrorist, just like Monokuma said. Mukuro looked away from Mondo and continued speaking.
I know, while this whole thing is playing out, Makoto's just like, I'm dying.
I know. A big giant pool of blood is formed.
That's true, but Makoto isn't involved at all.
Celeste coldly brushed her objection aside.
I do not think trying to protect him will do you any good. After all, we all heard Makoto call you by your real name.
That's...
She had no words. There was nothing she could say to protect Makoto, even though Makoto was truly innocent. Though Mukuro was the ultimate soldier, her powers were largely limited to battle. Even a normal high school student could outwit her when it comes to debate and negotiation.
Dang.
If she were the ultimate negotiator, she might be able to convince them that their memories had really been erased.
Zachary's like, I like to imagine all this happening interspersed with close-ups on Makoto weekly singing Baby Shark. Oh no! He's going delirious on us.
But in her current situation, if she tried to bring up their memory loss, they would think it was a desperate excuse. Even Mukuro knew that. But even if she didn't know what to say, she still knew what to do.
Right now, we need to treat Makoto first.
And then she started walking toward Makoto as if nothing had happened. To the others, it seemed like Mukuro had decided to abruptly change the subject.
Okay, hold it. We will immediately take Makoto to the nurse's office for treatment. However, we must tie you up.
This was Sakura's honest demand. But there was no way Mukuro could accept it. If she was separated from Makoto, there'd be no telling what Monokuma would do to him. And between Mondo's hot temper and Byakuya's cold heart, Makoto could easily sustain further injuries under the pretense of interrogation. Furthermore, among these students, Mukuro knew she was the only one who had experience treating wounds due to her time with Fenrir. After mulling that over, she narrowed her eyes and went silent. Her mind was made up. She was determined to fight her way out of here and escape with Makoto.
I apologize, but I need you to fall asleep right now.
As she said that...
I apologize, but I need you to fall asleep right now.
As she said that, Sakura instantly positioned herself behind Mukuro. She was completely within her blind spot. To a normal person, it would have seemed like Sakura had suddenly vanished. After moving faster than any human being could see, Sakura's equally fast hands launched a blow toward the back of Mukuro's neck. However...
Sorry, Sakura, but I need to get out of here.
Mukuro parried Sakura's fist with a spinning roundhouse kick.
Ugh.
Sakura raised an eyebrow at the unexpected counterattack. Mukuro tried to use the momentum of her kick to sweep Sakura's feet out from under her. However, Sakura dodged and instinctively struck back against Mukuro's pivot leg. But Mukuro was faster and jumped up, aiming a tornado kick at Sakura's chin. Sakura deflected the attack with one arm, then both combatants leapt backwards, glared, and charged simultaneously. Every blow they dealt was parried and countered by the other, and though they were both unarmed, the sound of the battle echoed throughout the gym.
Awesome.
It was like a typhoon had been compressed to the size of a car and set loose inside the gym. The other students were powerless to stop them. All they could do was stare at the breathtaking dance of death unfolding before them. After 10 minutes had passed, the enormous sound of one final impact rang throughout the gym.
10-minute battle? Dang. That's amazing. And yeah, forget Kyoko, Mukuro's new best girlfriend.
The two warriors leapt back once again and breathed heavily as they stared each other down.
My mistake. It's only been a few days. I cannot believe I did not notice such an impressive fighter was hiding among us.
In addition to the surprise Sakura felt, it was as if the battle had left her energized. Mukuro, on the other hand, looked down at her arm, confirmed it had been wounded during the battle, and thought to herself,
She's strong. I don't think Sakura is even taking this seriously right now.
despite being constantly surrounded by firearms, blades, traps, and explosives during her time with Fenrir, this was the first time she had ever been wounded.
That's amazing. Do you mind if we pause there for just a second?
Okay.
I just really have to use the bathroom. I'm like waiting for the fight to end, but I'm like, I don't know how much longer. It's longer than 10 minutes. I gotta go.
Makoto lives for 10 more minutes. Wouldn't that mean that she's now moved away from Makoto's body and now Monokuma could kill him whenever? I'm just wondering that. or Junko in her little Monokuma control room is just like, wow, this battle is crazy. I'm gonna go get popcorn and watch. It's cool though to see how strong Sakura is being able to take on the ultimate soldier though. She's like proving herself in a combat scenario. It's funny, but anyways, I gotta go too. So
Okay,
I'll be
good.
back. Yeah.
I was just about to be like, I'm so sorry for my tiny bladder, but it's not just me. I know, Catherine, I'm sorry. I drank 2 cups of coffee and then a cup of tea, and I'm just like, I regret my life choices. I'm just like, I cannot wait a moment longer. I am in agony. Probably not as much agony as Makoto is, but... Ay, ay, ay. Thank you for your patience. Yeah, it's I'm just thinking, like, a 10-minute fight, how is Makoto not bled to death? I guess because he's lucky. But, just like, he's just bleeding out ever so slowly. That's a good point. Makoto probably can't feel much at this point. I hope he passed out. I really, for his sake, I hope he's passed out by this point. Poor boy. This is a wild what-if scenario, though. It's kind of crazy how quickly Junko just pivoted her plan. Like, hardly took a beat and was just like, alright, this is what's happening now. She probably actually used the real name of the ultimate hacker that went to the school as well, I'm assuming. I gotta make note of that name. I didn't actually pay attention, but I'm like, I wonder if that's an actual person in this universe. Probably. Alright. Thanks for doing all this reading, by the way.
Yeah.
Once it's like a new scene, I can take over for a bit. Alright, back to the action.
Mukuro was powerless before the might of the woman known as the ultimate martial artist and the strongest woman in the world.
Alright. Game Dan, hello, welcome. I'm glad you came after our pee break because you would have been like, no, not again. Nice to have you.
Welcome, welcome.
Just as I thought. I can't beat Sakura with my bare hands alone.
I need a gun! If she had been directly ordered to kill Sakura, Mukuro would have opted to either snipe her from a distance or poison her. At this close range, she would need an assault rifle just to stand a fighting chance.
Yes, huzzah! And it's true, Zachary. There's ultimate actual skills and then just ultimate criminals. I have the ultimate amount of money. I don't have time for this.
She looked at Makoto and confirmed that his breathing had grown even shallower.
I need to hurry.
But at that moment, she had no one to turn to for help. Suddenly, Mukuro had an idea. It was true that gaining an ally in this situation was impossible. However, she could still turn one person into her enemy's enemy. Mukuro took a deep breath before she charged at Sakura. Then she immediately fainted and charged at a different girl, Toko, who had been cowering in fear from the battle between Sakura and Mukuro in the corner of the gym.
Oh no, Toko! This is bad.
Sakura was caught off guard and tried to run after her, but Mukuro was one step ahead and reached Toko first.
Throws black pepper in her
Yeah.
face like, sneeze, girl! Huh? Why me? I'm sorry. Wait, hold on.
Mukuro jabbed Toko in her solar plexus, and she fell into her arms. Taka and Aoi yelled out in shock.
Oh no, not the ad again.
This is bad! She plans to use Toko as a hostage!
Toko!
In contrast to their shocked faces, Byakuya just snickered and coldly remarked, "You fool. Do you really think we care if you take someone we just met a few days ago as your hostage?" Mukuro just softly glanced at Byakuya and replied,
You didn't meet her a few days ago.
"What did you say?"
You met her 2 years ago.
Byakuya scowled. Mukuro ignored him and held her bloody arm in front of Toko's face, and then she yelled into her ears.
Wake up, Genocide Jack!
It seemed so random and out of place. Why would Mukuro mention the name of a notorious serial killer right now?
Oh, you'll see. And to answer your question, Dan, we're not sure. There's been a lot of times where we've said something and then, like, that was not the person who said that.
Yes, yeah.
But like, we're just rolling with it.
The students looked at each other with confusion when suddenly Toko, who had been groaning in pain, suddenly kicked off of the floor of the gym with renewed vigor. She leapt into the air much higher than any normal human should have been able to do. While hovering several meters in midair, Toko trolled faster than a professional figure skater.
That's my girl.
This caused her skirt to flutter, revealing multiple pairs of sparkling scissors. Countless tally marks were scratched into her legs, like a kill count carved into a fighter jet. If not for this situation, Toko's glamorous jumps and spins would have been a sight to behold. The girl, formerly known as Toko Fukawa, cackled wildly, her red eyes sparkling as her absurdly long tongue flopped out of her mouth.
You called for me, and so I appear. I've got a murder IOU for YOU.
Toko?
Toko.
Yeah, okay, the situation had changed so drastically that even Sayaka, who was silent until now, spoke up. Okay, so that is Sayaka,
That was
not Sakura.
Okay,
Again.
sorry. Toko? Okay.
Let me skip through it.
Hold on.
Okay, yeah, so that was supposed to be Genocide Jack speaking there, I believe.
Yeah, I thought I had the log button, but I
It
don't
doesn't
anymore.
have a long button. And it doesn't allow you to go back.
Oh, QE. There we go. We had the ability. Sweet. Okay.
Page 218.
Page 218.
Hey, you flash in the pan. Don't treat Genocide Jack like that depressing little Four Eyes. That dirty girl doesn't bathe herself at all, so I gotta put in 5 times the effort to rub myself down in the shower. Yeek.
Toko's sudden change in personality sent the students clamoring among themselves. Hey! Leon yelled. What the hell does that mean? Monokuma just shook his head.
There are some things even I don't understand.
The students continued to panic at the strange turn of events. Toko, now calling herself Genocide Jack, took out a set of scissors from under her skirt and snipped them with glee as she looked around the gym.
Huh?
Yeah, huh?
Man, it's been a while since I got to stretch my legs. So, what were you guys gonna do here at the gym while I was snoozing away? Have an orgy? I understand. I totally understand. You guys need me to cut up your clothes so you can feel even naughtier. Yeah, right. Why the hell would I do that for you dumbasses? My scissors are only meant for cutting the supple, tender flesh of adorable boys.
Genocide Jack was causing a ruckus, but when she saw Makoto laying on the floor, she tilted her head once again.
Aw, Big Mac, you're like totally about to die.
I forgot to call him Big Mac.
I know, yeah, she used food terms for everybody.
I know. Big Mac.
What's the deal? Did the world fill you with so much despair that you all came here to commit mass suicide? That's so odd, but why are you starting without me? Toko?
Cried Aoi.
Get a hold of yourself.
Genocide Jack ignored Aoi and let her emotions run unchecked, jumping and dancing with excitement as she held her scissors.
Ah, jeez, I wanted to stab Big Mac's side myself. This spot right here where the ribs are kind of showing already. He's not even screaming right now, though. Well, what does that mean? Oh well, maybe I can just get used to this feeling of alienation instead.
I have no idea what's going on anymore, shouted Yasuhiro. This is all the aliens' fault! Yasuhiro buried his head into his arms, but no one was paying attention to him.
As they should.
The students' attention was entirely focused on Genocide Jack. Using that to her advantage, Mukuro began sneaking over to Makoto. As she cautiously picked him up, she confirmed that his body temperature was starting to decrease.
I can still make it there in time.
Though she was carrying another person, Mukuro managed to soften the sound of her footsteps as she ran for the gym's doors.
Okay, no problem, Catherine.
By the time the students heard Mukuro open the door, it was already too late. She had managed to escape the gym with Makoto. However, not everyone was unaware of what Mukuro was doing. Monokuma saw her movements out of the corner of his eye, but chose not to tell the students. And one other person, Kyoko Kirigiri. She saw Mukuro carry Makoto away, but did not inform the others as she watched them leave in silence. As everyone wrestled with their own personal thoughts and speculations, Hope's Peak Academy began walking a path toward a completely different chaos.
Hey, you get a break now.
Okay.
Woo! Thank you for all that reading.
No problem.
Man, this is like a long novel. There's so much to read. With Makoto on her back, Mukuro took several trophies from the gym entrance hall, and after passing through the door leading to the hallway, she jammed the trophies through the door handles. Though Sakura could easily destroy these makeshift locks, they should buy Mukuro a few extra seconds. Then Mukuro started running to the nurse's office, the place she last spoke to Makoto. Everything necessary for performing first aid could be found there. Her little sister was her enemy. Her fellow ultimate students were her enemy. Her only ally right now was Makoto, who was on the verge of death. Mukuro knew that even she wasn't her own ally right now. Amidst all this chaos, amidst her sister's betrayal and nearly being killed, she believed. She believed she was the only one who truly understood her little sister. That's why she felt like she had to protect her. That's right. You didn't do anything wrong, Junko. You just wanted to feel despair, that's all. Right? Because you love me. That's why you wanted to kill me. You were just trying to feel despair, right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry I failed to bring you despair. But at the same time, she wondered, if she saves Makoto and betrays her sister by disrupting her plan, wouldn't that fill her with an even stronger despair? Wouldn't that make her happy? But betray Junko? What should I do? Mukuro closed her eyes and listened to Makoto's weak breaths. What should I do, Makoto? On a battlefield where all you need to do is kill and survive, Mukuro was invincible. She could suppress all her emotions and fully immerse herself in becoming a perfect killing machine. But on this twisted battlefield of daily high school life, she could no longer keep her emotions in check, especially around her little sister. Mukuro, the ultimate soldier, was beginning to question being ultimate despair. The impulses of the normal high school girl inside her were starting to affect her state of mind. Even so, the poor girl continued to run through the dark hallways, clinging to this conflict within herself. She was now walking along a narrow, hair-thin path. A path between the hope of Makoto Naegi and the despair of Junko Enoshima. That was such a short bit.
Yeah. I'm back.
I'm back, everybody.
Meanwhile, everyone still in the gym was left in a state of complete confusion. Toko was famous for being a prolific author, but even though she came across as unsociable and depressing, her mind-blowing transformation seemed to have just tossed all that aside.
Toko is Genocide Jack?
Sayaka trembled with fear as Jack tilted her head and stuck out her long tongue.
Huh? What's with this reception, you guys? You guys didn't know who I was? Have I been found out? Or have you known all along? And why was the sullen samurai dressed like that? That outfit didn't look good on her at all.
The sullen samurai was probably referring to Mukuro.
The sullen samurai.
Wow.
That's so good. Yes, Stan, it's basically all reading.
Yeah. Which means Toko already knew Mukuro in advance.
Yo, I didn't forget my memories.
Confronted by that shocking truth, the students had no idea where to begin talking. So many things were clearly wrong by this point. But there were a few students, such as Byakuya and Kyoko, who opted to remain calm and observe the situation.
I'm guessing that Jill... Yeah.
Yes,
It's Jill.
Yeah.
Oh, alright. Dan has to leave. Good luck
Okay,
out there.
see
Thanks
ya,
for joining
Dan.
us. We were gonna have fun for sure. Oh yeah, Jack never lost her
Yeah,
memories.
no.
We found that out in the last trial of the first game. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this this and this and this happened. It's like, well, nobody asked me, so I never
Yeah.
said anything. All right, someone better spill it. Who gave Makoto an extra mouth to feed? I don't care if you want to stab him or slice him. I just can't forgive whoever put that ugly asshole in Big Mac's side.
Genocide Jack spun her scissors in her hands. As she spoke, her emotions and facial expressions constantly changed. Even without the threat of her scissors, she exuded an aura of danger that made her unapproachable.
The flank steak of a young boy like macaroons is like a bluebird that pops out a golden egg. If you would have just let me handle it, I would have killed him so good that even Tiltil and Miltil would be eager to die. But poor Makyuti's heart and soul have been stomped on by such a sloppy kill. Makyutis.
Hakayutis. Wow, so many names.
Okay,
so,
I think that's still her. That actually sounds pretty exciting too, but I decline. Toko, you're not making any sense.
Screamed Aoi.
What in the world happened to you?
Genocide Jack answered by pointing her scissors at Aoi.
What happened to me? I got bored, that's what. That sourpuss locked me up a few days ago, but when she went unconscious, I thought I'd finally get to do my thing. But I woke up for all this? Makyuti's soaked with blood and I've got no clue what's going on. It's so damn confusing, all I can do is laugh.
No one seemed to be able to get a straight answer out of Jack, so Hifumi made a timid remark.
I've dealt with girls like this in my 2D dating games, but this doesn't even compare. It's like there's an SSS difficulty level to clear her.
Fumi's a real one. Welcome back, Catherine.
I can't believe you'd even think about her as someone worth clearing, mumbled Leon. It was clear that things were going nowhere, and as if she were responding to everyone else's expectations, Sakura stepped forward.
Sakura is strong, lady.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I keep getting her
Not
inside.
Sayaka. Yeah,
Oh
Sakura.
man, I still have trouble with that. She might be in the throes of confusion. I should try to restrain her for now.
As soon as she heard that, Genocide Jack stopped moving, stuck out her lizard-like tongue, and grinned wickedly.
Ow! What's up? Are you really gonna fight me, Battle Ogre? Too bad! My lovely scissors are only for cutting through adorable boys. Women should just stay home. I won't take my scissors with your filthy blood.
Replied Sakura.
It seems my words are useless on you.
Sakura entered a fighter's stance, determined to restrain Jack. But Jack knew she couldn't win in a fair fight and adopted a strange stance of her own. In a normal fight, Jack would obviously lose to the ogre. But if Jack focused just on dodging attacks, the outcome of the fight would be hard to foresee. Of course, Genocide Jack's physical abilities were only obvious to a few of the students in the first place. The two women exchanged hostile stares as the other students gulped nervously and watched. Except for one person. Kyoko was watching something else. She was watching Monokuma, who was in the corner of the gym, unmoving, as white noise emitted from his speakers. He had stopped moving the moment everyone's attention focused on Sakura and Toko. It's possible that Madurai's hacking had been disrupted, but an infinite number of other possibilities were also swirling around in Kyoko's mind. She brushed back her hair with a gloved hand and continued to watch.
Oh, so Makoto has currently been carried out of the gym by Mukuro, and that's where we left it so far. He's still not at the nurse's office yet. When did Dangan become a shonen anime, right?
That's what I was saying, man. Like, the first game, there was so many character developed and powerful female characters in it.
Oh, I know.
And they're having
yeah.
all three of the strongest ones
fighting
each other in the gym.
I know, just like, for 10 minutes!
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Though she couldn't fully remember her talent, the actions she was taking right now were fueled by pure instinct. The strange situations that kept occurring in front of her were shaking her to her very core. Her mind worked diligently to scoop up countless amounts of information from her vast sea of memories. And as they were synchronizing with the synapses firing in her brain, Sakura and Toko kicked off the ground at the same time, and an intense impact rang throughout the gym.
Hey! Oh, there's blood. Hey, isn't that the blood splatter from when Fumi was in it? Wait a minute, this is Fumi blood.
Blood on the ground.
Yeah.
The blood
From
bags.
the blood bags, yeah. Thanks to the heated battle that was unfolding in the gymnasium, Mukuro Ikusaba was able to buy more time than she had imagined. As soon as she entered the nurse's office, she rummaged around for medical supplies and did what she could to stop the bleeding. Though still quite shallow, Makoto's breathing slowly stabilized. Mukuro let out a little sigh of relief. However, even though she was somehow able to stop the bleeding, she wasn't out of the woods yet. Miraculously enough, luckily, you might even say, it seemed like none of Makoto's major arteries or organs were damaged. Was this perhaps thanks to his ultimate luck? Or maybe he wasn't actually all that lucky. After all, the only sort of medical treatment he could hope for was partial at best. Mukuro couldn't decide. If only I could do a blood transfusion. The nurse's office should have had several blood packs for transfusions. Mukuro suspected that Makoto's blood type might be written in his e-handbook, but as she reached over to search his pockets... Junko?
It must be Junko.
Right? Hold on. No, it's Monokuma, I guess.
But we knew that warbot was not being used. Did she switch to another warbot?
Probably.
Yeah.
I see you're reaching for a sleeping boy's clothes. What in the world's about to happen next? Adults can keep playing, but you kids better press the B button, okay? Mukuro turned toward that familiar voice and saw Monokuma standing before her. What if Junko, during the fight, left to face Mukuro and Makoto faced it? That's exactly what I was thinking. As soon as Monokuma stopped, I'm like, oh no, Junko left that room and is like, I'm going down there.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
You're all alone with Makoto right now. Just think of me as a cute wild animal and let your lust lead the way. As the headmaster, I must prevent any illicit sexual relationships, but physical education classes are just fine, Missy. Though he looked just like the one that was at the gym, it was clearly a different Monokuma. Multiple Monokumas had been placed throughout the entire academy, so it wasn't a stretch for him to suddenly appear out of nowhere. Regardless, the same person was controlling all of them. Mukuro had been wary of Monokuma attacking her while she was treating Makoto's wounds, but his appearance at this particular moment seemed to take her by surprise. Junko? asked Mukuro cautiously. Monokuma tilted his head along with his entire upper body inquisitively. Junko? Who's that? Junko? I've never heard of that country before. No more jokes. Answer me, Junko. You were planning to kill me earlier, right? Junko this, Junko that. What's your problem? I'm telling telling you, I'm Monokuma! You must be a big disappointment if you can't even remember something like that! You're not just a disappointment as a person, you're a disappointment as a sister, too! You're too skinny, and your brain is nothing but muscles, and your personality is just unbearable! I'm sorry, said Mukuro. She didn't need to apologize, but hearing her little sister call her a disappointment yet again was enough to make the ultimate soldier recoil. Dang. Monokuma ignored her in her current situation, climbed on top of Makoto's barely breathing body, and began poking his cheeks. So what are you gonna do with Makoto now? I'm really interested in human mating habits, you know. What are you... asked Mukuro before trailing off. Monokuma lowered his tone and began whispering into her ear. Makoto's a pretty nice guy, huh? He even sacrificed himself to save you. He's so generous that it's actually hopeless. He's not dead yet, insisted Mukuro. Despite her firm tone, she couldn't hide the fear lingering in her voice. That's the most disappointing thing about you. You can't even say, I won't let him die. I won't let him die, Junko. Mukuro could barely get a word in as Monokuma erupted into poo-hoo-hoos and ah-ha-ha-ha-ha-has and continued to torment her. As if you could do that. Too bad, no regrets, see you tomorrow. This is all because Makoto was the first person to smile at you. You, a disappointing, depressing, unladylike, inhuman killing machine. Despite denying that he was Junko, Monokuma began speaking at length about Mukuro's past. This contradiction was very much like Junko, and Mukuro was so shaken that all she could do was watch the bear prattle on and on. Only the fit survive in this world. The only thing that kind-hearted people can do is die, you know. As proof, you're gonna watch Makoto die really soon. He won't die. Mukuro's tone of voice had become irregular ever since she took off her Junko wig. Aside from her conversation with Makoto, everything she said as Junko was from a script that her sister had written. But now there was no script for Mukuro to rely on anymore. Mukuro was treating Monokuma like she would treat her own sister. If the other students saw her acting so weak, they'd never believe she was the same person who fought Sakura in the gym. And not just that. If anyone from her mercenary past could see her now, her stark change in attitude might make them think she was someone else entirely.
You want me to take over the narration again?
I'm okay.
Because yeah, I mean, it's you're basically just reading
I know,
everything now. Yeah.
That's okay.
Okay.
I'll commit to it.
Okay, shit.
Monokuma continued to rail against Mukuro. Nope, he's gonna die. I know it's sad, but you just have to face the facts. Monokuma wriggled his limbs and danced around, then pointed right at Mukuro's face. Because Makoto is going to die by your hands. Huh? Infighting among the terrorists. The big bad terrorist silences the weak-willed Makoto before he can leak any information. Doesn't that happen all the time? In the end, all the desperate things you said in the gym turned out to be lies you told just to escape. Mukuro frowned at Monokuma. You can't do that, Junko. I won't let you do that. As she blurted out those words in a trembling voice, Mukuro was gripped with confusion about what she had just said. Am I defying Junko right now? Why? It was a strange feeling. To Mukuro, it was like she was standing on the ledge of a tall building and imagining what would happen if she jumped. A destructive feeling, akin to holding a friend's baby and wondering what would happen if you tripped and fell. Before she knew it, fear and anxiety had suddenly taken control of Mukuro's heart. As a member of Fenrir, and his ultimate despair, Mukuro had killed innumerable people. She had handled live grenades before. She had descended from the sky in a parachute as anti-aircraft weaponry fired all around her. Her heart never wavered on the battlefield, but now it felt like it could collapse at any second. Monokuma, however, was as stable as a tree and slightly tilted his head to the side. Huh? Weren't you listening to my story? I'm not the one who's gonna kill Makoto. You are. What are you saying, Junko? Monokuma began giving a strange explanation to a very confused Mukuro. Do you know what the suspension bridge effect really means? It means you push the person you love off a bridge and they'll be yours for eternity. I haven't heard that at all. Life doesn't always follow what your textbooks say. It's sad, but that's what love is. His words made no sense, and Mukuro couldn't think of anything to say as she stood there dumbfounded. Meanwhile, Monokuma continued his little speech, intentionally saying things meant to antagonize Mukuro. Basically, this is your big chance, you know. If you kill Makoto right here and now, nobody will ever take him away from you again. Just submit to your Yandere tendencies. I know they're in there. Makoto Naegi, dead by dawn. The last name he ever spoke was Mukuro Ikusaba. The last person he ever smiled at was Mukuro Ikusaba. Doesn't that sound wonderful? There was a certain appeal to Monokuma's twisted suggestion, and Mukuro found herself unsure of her own judgment. This is wrong. It has to be wrong. But it's really Junko saying all this, so doesn't that mean it's right? Yeah, Samantha, you know them Yandere tendencies. No, this isn't Junko. It's Monokuma. Monokuma. And are you sure you want to help Makoto? Once he gets better, he's gonna know everything. He'll know what you did to your classmates. I can't believe you would actually erase your friends' memories of their time together and force them to kill each other. Makoto might get mad at you and say, our real enemy isn't the bear, it's her. Do you really want him to blame you for this? Mukuro's face turned pale. Or are you going to kill the others? If everyone except you and Makoto dies, you'll be able to spend the rest of your school life together. We can't hold a class trial with only 2 people. It might be a good idea for you both to live the rest of your lives in this academy forever. No, that's wrong. No, that's wrong.
No, that's wrong.
And what are you gonna do if his memories return? It's not like you were dating Makoto or anything. You were just watching him from afar the whole time. Man, you're so shy. You can shoot people's hearts and brains, no problem, but you can't even woo some stupid boy into liking you. Do you want to know who Makoto had a crush on before his memories were taken away? That is so cruel. That's true, Zachary. The kill everybody else and have them all to yourself plan is way better. Mukuro trembled as Monokuma continued pressing the issue, gradually loosening the screws, keeping her heart secure. So, Mukuro chose to pretend she didn't hear anything at all. All emotion vanished from her face, and she looked silently from Makoto's e-handbook. If you're looking for his blood type, it's not written in the handbook. I thought it... Isn't it usually? Because it has, like, their height, their weight. Does it not have their blood type? I thought it did have their blood type.
I can't remember.
Mukuro's face turned pale. Within 5 seconds, her plan to ignore Monokuma had already failed. But since your headmaster is made of a 50% kindness, I'll tell you anyway. Makoto's blood type is B. As soon as she heard him say that, all the anxiety, horror, hostility, malice, and dread churning within Mukuro had completely vanished. Why would you trust her? Like,
yeah, I know,
oh, sorry, did I
lie.
say B? I meant A.
Yeah, she could lie about it, yeah.
Thank you, Junko. Mukuro's eyes sparkled without a hint of suspicion, so she turned her back to Monokuma without a hint of suspicion, and walked toward the refrigerator containing the blood packs. Fresh blood packs should have been prepared before the plan took effect. They'll last in cold storage for 21 days. They should still be good. Despite her emotionless face, Mukuro let herself feel a small amount of satisfaction as she took a blood pack from the refrigerator. As Monokuma watched her, his normally emotionless eyes twitched ever so slightly. If a third party could see his face right now, or even if the other students could see his face right now, they'd wonder, is Monokuma surprised? That's right. They'd have the same shocked look on their faces as if they were seeing Monokuma for the first time. At that moment, a whisper crept out of Monokuma's emotionless face. There should be a limit to how disappointing you can be. It was far quieter than a mosquito's wings. Even with her battle-hardened hearing, Mukuro couldn't hear what he said. Quieter than a mosquito's wings. It might be, Zachary, it might be. Monokuma shook his head, and the voice returned to normal. It's not like I care that you, the ultimate despair, has hope in anything. It's not like I expected much from you to begin with, so this'll at least help me feel despair. But seriously, you disappoint me. Just so you know, despair and disappointment are completely different things, okay? They're as different as bears and pandas.
Now that's not funny.
What are you... Mukuro's body started to shake as she turned back to look at Monokuma. He hadn't started talking any differently than usual. Junko hadn't turned off the voice modulator and started talking in a real voice or anything. And yet Mukuro was utterly terrified. She was terrified on instinct, not as a soldier. Half the reason she was terrified was because of her instincts as the ultimate despair. And the other half was because she was Junko's older sister. Even through Monokuma, her instincts were telling her that Junko was annoyed with her. Junko? Why are you annoyed? Is it because I betrayed you? Or is it because I didn't die like you wanted me to? Ah! Sulked Monokuma. I'm beyond annoyed! I'm really, really angry! And I'm really, really disappointed right now! I'm so pissed I could take a rage nap right now! Monokuma's anger didn't seem any different from his usual anger toward the students, but Mukuro could instinctively sense another emotion mixed within it. Right now, she could feel that Junko was feeling hopeless disappointment. It's normal for someone who's disappointed to lose hope, but for ultimate despair, disappointment means something else entirely. To them, disappointment was tantamount to losing despair itself. Mukuro was a member of ultimate despair. At her sister's behest, Mukuro had soiled her hands many times in order to fill the world with despair. Despite her pride toward being a member of ultimate despair, there was a clear difference between Mukuro and her sister. Junko Enoshima was despair incarnate. She was born in despair, molded by it.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Letting it infect other people's hope so it could rot them from the inside out, twisting them into her own image. For Junko, feeling hope was its own despair. Creating despair in others created despair in herself, which caused her to feel both intense pain and intense bliss. Junko had walked the fracture created from the conflict between pleasure and penance all her life. Eventually, the fracture would widen until it swallowed the world and tore it in half. But Mukuro, on the other hand, had neither hope nor despair for the world. At least, not when she was a member of Fenrir. Ever since she was a child, Mukuro believed she was meant to spread despair because of her sister. She didn't harbor any ill will toward the world. She simply accepted she was meant to spread despair and chose to walk the same path as her sister. I know, Samantha's like, Makoto's life hanging by a thread during this entire thing.
I know.
Does he live or not?
Yeah. Guys, it's been an hour since he was stabbed.
Is he still okay? What are we doing? Oh, and thank you, Viviana. Appreciate your understanding. The doubt she felt was only a recent development. When Junko told her about the plan, when she watched the world burn at the hands of terrorists wearing Monokuma masks, she never wavered once. However, as soon as she heard about her sister's plan to make their classmates kill each other, Makoto included, a strange feeling began to stir within her. What started as a seed of doubt soon grew into a thorny vine ensnaring Mukuro's feet. As soon as she disguised herself as Junko and finished meeting the other students, as soon as she had confirmed that everyone's memories had been completely taken away, that vine began tightening around Mukuro's heart. They're gone. Junko's the only one who knows about me now. That's it. But that's no problem. It's just like old times. Things will never go back to how they used to be, but that's fine. This should be fine. She had relinquished the past 2 years she had spent with her friends so she could betray them and deliver death and despair onto them. Though her heart ached, Mukuro was beyond feeling guilt or remorse for her actions. But the question, why does my heart ache like this, still remained unanswered. Perhaps that was why she spent so much time talking to Makoto when he was in the nurse's office. And when Makoto gave her that one particular answer, something changed inside her. In return, I promise that if I do decide to kill someone, it won't be you. The words Mukuro blurted out to Makoto weren't improvised to further her role as Junko. It was an honest sentiment from the bottom of her heart. She was even planning to ask Junko herself if Makoto could somehow be spared from her plan. Ah, my heart. Over the past 2 years, Mukuro's interest had been slowly shifting away from her sister and toward the world itself. And her world was Makoto. By extension, her interests also included Makoto, the first person to ever smile at her and make her feel connected to the world. He was like a sapling of pure honesty that had taken root in Mukuro's heart. But by the time she realized that, the tree had already rotted. As Mukuro struggled to understand the situation, Monokuma let out a sigh and said, I wonder which part of you is a wolf anyway. You're just a dog that blindly follows Junko's orders. What does the tattoo on your hand even mean? Are you just a bitch who's pledged her loyalty to her owner? I bet Toko would say that. I'm positive. Monokuma continued to talk as Mukuro stood in confusion. I was obviously lying when I said Makoto's blood type is B! Right? I'm like, good grief.
Yes.
How thick can you be?
Nailed it down.
What? Cried Mukuro. You lied? Junko. A normal person would have been suspicious. I never thought you'd actually believe me just now. I must have misplaced my eyes because I totally did not see that coming. Not even with my ability to predict the future. How shocking. Jeez, I'm about to start crying my eyes out like some sort of robot cat. Seriously. It's going to be okay, Junko, said Mukuro. I know our plan kind of fell apart, but I'm still on your side. Are you feeling all right? Because I'll do anything. Snap! A harsh sound came from Monokuma's mouth. That sound was one of my circuits overloading. It's been so long since I felt this angry. Meet me on the roof of the school. I'll smash out all your baby teeth. Monokuma started shadowboxing in front of Mukuro, who remained frozen in place, clutching a blood pack in her hand. She still looked confused, and Monokuma threw up his arms in frustration. You're so disappointing, I can't even predict it anymore! Roar! A threatening roar burst from Monokuma's mouth as he leapt at Mukuro with his sharp claws extended. At that moment, her face became completely emotionless. It was not a conscious action. The defensive instinct she honed during her time with Fenrir temporarily suppressed her emotions as she countered Monokuma's attack. Mukuro grabbed a nearby IV stand and used it to parry Monokuma's claws. However, Monokuma's claws seemed to be made with a special alloy and easily sliced the bar in half diagonally. But instead of following up his attack, Monokuma continued talking to Mukuro. I guess you're not much of a disappointment when it comes to fighting. In fact, if you were so pathetic that you died from that single attack, that would have been interesting in its own way. But right now, you're just incompetent at everything! I'm sorry, said Mukuro. I couldn't help blocking your attack. But there's no way I can fight you, Junko. After all, I'm all you have. I'm the only one who understands you at all. Mukuro's words were riddled with endless dismay. The contrast between her usual stoic self and the way she was acting now was so stark, people might assume she had multiple personalities. However, Monokuma just quietly stared at her. He was perfectly still, as if all his functions had powered down completely. But Mukuro continued to share her feelings.
There's no way I can just leave you alone.
Junko's like, I'm out.
I'm leaving. I'm gonna head out. And then Monokuma broke his silence. But at that moment, a monitor in the nurse's office lit up displaying a girl's face, Junko Enoshima. At the same time, a voice completely unlike Monokuma's began to play from the speakers. Hey, Mukuro.
Junko!
It had been several days since Mukuro had heard her sister's real voice. Though her face remained emotionless, excitement sparkled in her eyes. However, that shine immediately dulled. I'm grateful to you, Mukuro. I mean it. Junko's voice emanating from the speaker sounded very gentle and kind. Junko? I'm really sorry. I said so many mean things to you. I even tried to kill you earlier. And I was about to make you do something horrible just now. Even though I know all about your feelings toward Makoto. You don't have to force yourself. Even if you didn't notice, it was totally obvious to anyone looking at you. You never cared about the class photos, but when Makoto said he was going to take one, you made sure you were facing the camera. And then, Junko Enoshima, the ultimate despair, flashed a smile. A pure, sweet smile. On the monitor, she looked like a normal high school girl teasing her older sister. And yet, Mukuro could feel despair and anxiety encasing themselves around her. I always thought you should have tried hard to take pictures with Makoto, but I guess that's what makes you so disappointing. Still, even though you're disappointing and annoying, I still love you.
Disappointing.
Mukuro trembled upon hearing those words. I love you. That's all she ever wanted to hear her sisters say. Mukuro believed!
Yes.
Where do I get a Mukuro that just believes in everything?
Starting to believe.
She's starting to believe! She never stopped.
Yeah.
No matter what Junko said, she believed she really loved her. She believed she was the only one who could truly understand the despair known as Junko Enoshima. She was naive. As soon as she heard Junko say, I love you, Mukuro realized she never completely understood her sister. It was only at this moment that Mukuro finally understood her sister's feelings. Junko's words right now were kind. Perhaps that kindness was completely honest. The words, I love you, might have been true as well. However, for Junko Enoshima, this was her way of saying goodbye. She was severing the ties between them. It was painfully clear to Mukuro. And then, before she could even say anything, the girl in the monitor made a remark that cut Mukuro to the bone. I'm sure someday you'll make your dreams come true. Ultimate despairs never talk to each other like this. A simple truth stabbed into Mukuro's heart. Junko had no further use for her. Her own sister was parting ways with her. Mukuro had dedicated over 10 years of her life to the cause of ultimate despair, and at this moment it all counted for nothing. But those years no longer mattered to Mukuro. Her sister's rejection was more than enough to send her into the depths of despair. That's why Mukuro, even now, clung to a small sliver of hope. Meanwhile, Junko was still on the monitor. Yeah, right. Did you really think I'd say something that nice? You're so annoying. Can't you just hurry up and disappear already? Mukuro hoped Junko would say something like that. She hoped that she'd start verbally abusing her again or call her useless and incompetent. Mukuro was no masochist, but she'd prefer to be showered with bullets and contempt than endure this kind of emotional pain. But I love you, Mukuro. Bye-bye. The monitor went black, leaving Mukuro to process the horrible goodbye that she'd received. And as if on cue, Monokuma started moving again. Isn't family love so nice? By the way, did you know that in about half of all murder cases, the killer is a family member? Monokuma spoke in his usual tone of voice. Zachary,
Are you sure about that?
Yes. Are you sure about that?
That it was unclear if his words were getting through to Mukuro. Mukuro let the blood pack in her hand fall to the floor and tightened her grip on the iron bar she was still holding. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Junko. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. She mumbled quietly, as if she were chanting a spell, and walked past the blood pack on the floor to Makoto's bedside with the iron bar in her hands. I'll do it properly. I'll make sure I do it. So... Oh? Said Monokuma, perking up. What are you gonna properly do to Makoto with that big, thick rod you got there? Are you gonna do... or are you gonna do him in? I knew where that was going. Either way, I'm starting to feel some heart-throbbing excitement. Mukuro looked like she had been completely broken. Monokuma walked closer to her with eager anticipation. Suddenly, Monokuma's body silently floated into the air. Huh? With no expression on his face, Monokuma tried to see what had just happened to him. And in the blink of an eye, an iron bar ripped through his body. The tip of the bar, which had been cut diagonally earlier into a sharp point, went straight through Monokuma and stabbed into a surveillance camera. The lens was completely destroyed and the camera shot out sparks as it broke down. The iron bar was still stabbed into the surveillance camera as Monokuma dangled from the other end. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but only static came out. A few seconds later, his functions came to a complete stop. Without making a sound at all, Mukuro had kicked Monokuma into the air. As soon as Monokuma's power source and his bomb circuit had perfectly aligned with the surveillance camera in the nurse's office, Mukuro plunged the iron bar into all three of them. Dang. No normal human has the skill to utilize such a technique. Not even an ultimate. All the hesitation within Mukuro had vanished. Her eyes sparkled like a panther stalking its prey at night. A tense aura surrounded Mukuro, even more so than when she fought Sakura earlier. Ignoring Monokuma's lifeless form, she looked at Makoto as he breathed softly and remembered her sister's parting words. So this is despair, she mumbled to herself. I'm so sorry, Junko. I never really understood what despair was. She spoke without emotion, like a machine. But it's going to be all right now. I finally understand. Hidden within her, passions began to stir. So, I'll make sure I make you happy, Junko. I'll make sure I fill you with despair. I'll save Makoto. I'll make sure the others don't die. I'll let them escape from this place. I'll deal with the people on the outside, too. You invested so much time and killed so many people for the sake of this plan. And I'll destroy every last remnant of it. For you. This was not an act of vengeance toward the sister who had abandoned her. This was an act of mercy. Stuck between the ultimate despair and the hope she gained from Makoto, Mukuro was being refined into something that was unlike despair or hope. And she had no way of knowing where her path would lead.
Oh. Okay, I'll take over then.
That was only 10 minutes? I think that was longer than 10 minutes.
Over 10 minutes had passed. The sound of the students leaving the gym and making their way to the nurse's office rang throughout the hall. Genocide Jack had continued to dodge Sakura's attacks with her tricky movements.
I know, Samantha. I'm like, what?
But when Byakuya blurted out, "Enough already, you irritating pervert," Genocide Jack stopped in her tracks.
Oh, my. Getting chewed up by my bespectacled Byakuya is making my masochistic side get all tingly. They say the line between sadism and masochism is paper thin, but in my case, it's more like a Venn diagram. Words can't explain these hot waves of passion squirming from the top of my head to the tips of my toes.
As she rambled incoherently about Byakuya, the other students tied her up with a microphone cable from the gym and locked her in her room.
Damn. Just like, get her.
Half the students stayed behind to keep an eye on her, while the rest left to search the grounds of the school.
Shouldn't Makoto have bled out to death? I know.
Yeah. As soon as the door to the nurse's office opened, Kyoko saw a non-functioning Monokuma with a hole in its chest and the remains of a surveillance camera. It wasn't just in the nurse's office, though. On their way there, the students had seen several destroyed surveillance cameras and scattered Monokuma bodies.
Mukuro is tougher than Usami.
Usami, yes.
She's just taking out all these Monokumas.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
This was a clear violation of school regulations, but if Mukuro was allied with Monokuma, those regulations wouldn't apply to her anyway. The Monokuma inside the gym was no longer moving, and the students had lost contact with the hacker, Beshiki Marurai. So the students assumed that Marurai had taken control of a different Monokuma and went after Mukuro on his own. With that in mind, Kyoko turned and looked inside the nurse's office once again. It was unusually quiet. The beds were empty, but Kyoko could see from the bloodstains that someone had been resting there recently.
Looks like they're already gone. Oh
yeah.
That was Mondo.
Looks like they're already gone, Mondo remarked, but as he was about to leave, Kyoko spoke up behind him.
I'm going to stay here with Chihiro and search for clues. Huh?
Asked Chihiro, her timid eyes widening.
Clues?
Kyoko continued to speak in a calm tone of voice.
Yes, there may be some clues in these Monokuma remains. I figured you would be the best candidate for investigating machinery.
Sakura spoke up.
But isn't that dangerous?
Since Sakura could clearly hold her own in a fight with Mukuro, she had joined the other students in searching the school grounds.
I assume Mukuro took Makoto with her? But where? I do not know.
Where? Kyoko shook her head and replied,
I'm sorry to say this, but if things get out of hand, Chihiro and I will just be in your way. I think it's better if we search for clues here instead of doing nothing. Besides, we might be able to use Monokuma's parts to detect any radio broadcast from the outside world. Yeah, you certainly have a point. Understood. We'll be exploring this floor for a while. Please shout for us if anything happens.
Sakura left the nurse's office.
How did she destroy Monokuma like this?
As Chihiro cautiously stood over Monokuma's remains, Kyoko started searching through the room. She zeroed in on one of the beds and began studying it intensely.
And thoroughly.
Yes. A moment later, Kyoko was satisfied with what she found and let out a small sigh before she spoke.
Chihiro, let me apologize to you in advance. Huh? I dragged you into this gamble of mine, so if anything happens, run out into the hallway and call for help. What does that mean?
But instead of answering Chihiro's question, Kyoko started talking to one of the empty beds.
Let me say this first. I'm prepared to hear your story. No matter how ridiculous it may sound, I promise not to decide if it's a lie or the truth until after I've listened to it in its entirety.
Chihiro looked confused. She didn't understand what Kyoko meant at all. The ultimate lowered her eyes and turned to the ultimate programmer to make a request.
Chihiro, does your laptop have a voice recording function, and do you also have a microphone? Huh? Yeah. I want you to use that to record everything we're about to hear. But there's no one here.
As Chihiro wondered to herself, she began connecting Monokuma's parts to her laptop and turned on the record function.
I'm sure we'll pick up every sound in this room now,
said Chihiro, nervously. Satisfied, Kyoko nodded and once again started talking to the empty bed.
So what were you going to do if I told everyone that I found Makoto?
When she heard Kyoko say that, Chihiro looked back at her and was surprised by what she saw. At that moment, the ultimate programmer was kneeling on the floor next to Monokuma's remains. From that position, she was able to see it. Of all the beds in the nurse's office, there was one bed in particular that couldn't be seen from the entrance. Underneath that bed lay a limp Makoto.
Oh no, Makoto!
A blood pack was hidden next to the bed and slowly providing Makoto with a transfusion. The contents of the blood pack were clear. Rather than blood, it seemed to be some kind of saline solution used in emergency hydration. Though it wouldn't be as effective as an actual blood transfusion, it was enough to keep him from going into shock. Though that was the extent of Chihiro's medical knowledge. She was already surprised that Makoto had been in the nurse's office this whole time. Not only that, but Kyoko wasn't talking to the bed that Makoto was under, which sent chills throughout Chihiro's body. However, there was nobody under the bed that Kyoko was facing. But the moment Chihiro noticed that, a voice rang out from underneath it.
As soon as everyone's attention was focused on Makoto, I was planning to take advantage of that opportunity to take someone hostage.
As Chihiro cautiously lowered her head until it was nearly touching the floor, she was able to make out who was talking. Surprisingly, the person hiding there was clinging to the frame of the bed, like a ninja clinging to the ceiling. Presumably, if someone had glanced under the bed quickly, they wouldn't have noticed anybody was there. Though Chihiro had no idea how the person was able to hide under the bed for so long, she could at least understand that their strength was beyond normal human levels. There was no question that the person hiding under the bed was Mukuro Ikusaba. It's still Mukuro speaking here.
But you pretended not to notice. Why?
Mukuro's voice was as cold as ice, but Kyoko didn't even flinch as she responded.
Because I wanted to hear your side of the story. I knew you were hiding under that bed. Compared to the others, the frame was slightly more pronounced.
Chihiro tried comparing the beds to see if this was true, but she couldn't tell the difference at all. Only Kyoko's natural observation skills could let her see something like that. Mukuro seemed to come to a similar conclusion and appeared from under the bed without making a sound. Her face was stoic and cold. Compared to the bomb inside Monokuma, Chihiro thought she was even more terrifying. However, Mukuro ignored Chihiro and shifted her gaze at Kyoko. She leaned against a wall and let her arms fall to her sides as she threw out another question.
Why do you want to hear what I have to say?
Kyoko thought about this simple question for a while, as if she was searching within her own heart for the answer.
If I have to provide an answer, it's because I wish to remain neutral.
Kyoko quietly looked down.
I'm currently missing most of my memories. I don't know who I am or what talent I had to be accepted into this school.
She could hear Chihiro gasp behind her, but Kyoko didn't mind and continued.
But even so, I believe I should listen to what you have to say. Regardless of whether you're good or evil, I must hear all the facts in order to know the truth. Good and evil don't matter. I'll come to a conclusion based on what I see and hear. I think that's the methodology that's been instilled into me. I see. I completely forgot you were like that, Kyoko. But before I listen to what you have to say, I'd like to ask you one question first. What is it?
Mukuro's reply was completely emotionless. Kyoko presented her question as if she were asking it of herself as well.
What was my talent that allowed me to attend this academy?
The answer to that question was simple.
Kyoko, you're the ultimate detective.
That answer marked a turning point for both girls.
Thank you. I have a better understanding of the situation now.
Kyoko slowly raised her head and presented a theory.
If my memory loss wasn't just a coincidence, then you... No, Your group has the ability to erase people's memories. With-
Oh, sorry, I didn't know if she was still speaking.
Yeah.
With that in mind, if we take into consideration the situation that unfolded in the gym earlier, I can only come to one possibility.
Possibility.
Yes. What you said to Byakuya when he thought you were taking Toko hostage. You claimed that they met 2 years ago. It's possible that might actually be true.
The fact that Makoto called out Mukuro's name, the things that Mukuro confirmed and denied, Genocide Jack's outlandish claims, these key factors that Kyoko noted using her special observation skills were converging in her mind to form one answer.
It's possible that Byakuya and Toko's memories were also erased, like mine, but I don't think their circumstances are quite the same as mine. But if our memories can be controlled so freely, it calls into question whether the day Monokuma appeared was really the same day we entered the academy. Like you said, it's possible that we've known Toko Fukawa for the last 2 years. What do you mean?
Chihiro cried, still working on connecting her laptop to Monokuma's parts. Kyoko continued, speaking to both Chihiro and Mukuro.
We thought we were knocked unconscious with sleeping gas the moment we arrived at this school. But it's possible that we were simply made to think that's what happened. For example, we may have already spent the last 2 years at Hope's Peak Academy, and our memories of that time were completely erased. It's even possible that we aren't even ultimates at all, just random people who've been implanted with 16 years worth of false memories.
Though Kyoko's claim sounded ridiculous, her face was completely serious. She looked up at Mukuro once again.
That'd be wild. Like,
Yeah.
just have fake memories the entire time.
I know.
I'm like, whoa.
Which means, I'm considering the possibility that your crazy story is actually the truth.
Kyoko's declaration filled the room with silence, but she didn't let that silence overwhelm her. Kyoko cut through it with her own words.
Without evidence, all I can do is make hypotheses. That's why I want to hear what you have to say, Mukuro. I have no intention of blindly believing what you're going to say, or what that self-proclaimed hacker who took over Monokuma said.
She paused and lowered her eyes again, then declared with powerful determination,
Even so, I intend to come to a conclusion as fairly and objectively as I can. But I can only do that if you trust me and tell me the truth.
Kyoko's conviction was clear from her voice. Mukuro's eyes narrowed slightly, and a tapestry of emotions flashed across her face as she looked toward Kyoko. But when she opened her mouth, her expression and voice were completely devoid of emotion.
That's right. I completely forgot. You were like that.
Mukuro repeated this to herself softly, then faced Kyoko and declared,
That must be why Junko took care to erase more of your memories compared to the others. Very well. I'll tell you everything.
And after Mukuro placed Makoto back onto the bed, she began to mechanically tell a story. The story of a girl who wanted to fill the world with despair. A girl who only felt truly happy when she was filled with despair herself. A plan for despair that began 2 years ago, or perhaps even earlier than that. How the world was currently ruled by despair itself. Mukuro provided a brief summary of everything she knew about the plan. That's why it sounded even more outrageous than Kyoko had expected. And through her story, Kyoko was able to learn the truth about herself, who she is and why she came to the academy, the fate of the academy's real headmaster, Kyoko's father. As she listened to Mukuro's story, Kyoko remained silent the whole time. Her face went blank when she learned her father had died. Perhaps her memory loss and the absurdity of the situation helped lessen the impact somewhat. But there was no guarantee Kyoko would even believe her story. After Mukuro finished speaking, Kyoko stayed silent. With her unrivaled mental prowess. Unrivaled.
Unrivaled prowess.
Yeah, prowess. I
Yeah.
said prowess.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was able to listen to Mukuro's story without interrupting her or dismissing it as nonsense. Mukuro continued.
You don't have to believe me. After all, any pictures that could prove my story are with Junko. All I can do is talk.
After she said that, Mukuro silently walked toward the entrance to the nurse's office. When she arrived at the door, she spoke again without looking back.
But even if you don't believe me, you still listened to everything I had to say. So, Kyoko, Chihiro, thank you.
After apologizing in such a strange tone of voice, she turned to the bed where Makoto lay, breathing weakly.
Make sure Makoto stays rested. When he wakes up, make sure you give him some sports drinks from the dining hall or supply room to drink. Please. Of course, but what are you going to do now?
Asked Kyoko. Mukuro straightened herself up.
Despair. I need to make Junko feel despair.
Mukuro continued mumbling to herself as she opened the door.
There's nothing else I can do. No, there is something you can do.
Mukuro stopped walking as Kyoko spoke firmly.
Regardless of whether Monokuma is really Junko Enoshima or Beshiki Madurai, if you're dealing with him, he won't be able to lay a finger on Makoto. I don't fully trust you, but if you're really concerned for Makoto's life, I'm willing to work with you. Unlike Beshiki, who's probably abandoned him already. Right? I'm sorry. I don't really work well with others.
Mukuro looked away, then bowed her head as she left the nurse's office.
But, I'll do my best.
The doors closed, and Mukuro was gone.
I'm sorry for involving you in something so dangerous, Chihiro.
As she continued to organize the vast amount of information that Mukuro gave her, Kyoko turned to Chihiro, who was still working on Monokuma. As she trembled with fear, Chihiro slowly looked back at Kyoko.
Kyoko, about what Mukuro said just now.
Chihiro's face turned pale as she struggled with her words, and Kyoko tried to calm her down.
We can't determine if anything she told us was true or not. There's no need to be afraid.
But Chihiro shook her head and returned to looking at her laptop.
I think she's telling the truth. What are you basing that on? Well, it looks like Monokuma is really being controlled from the outside.
Part of Monokuma's system had been connected to Chihiro's laptop, and she was analyzing the data within its control system. And it was then that the ultimate programmer noticed something unusual about it.
This control program. I thought it would be another year before the system became fully operational.
Chihiro started trembling so much that she was unable to continue speaking.
We can't confirm that.
Said Kyoko, proposing another possibility to avoid jumping to conclusions.
It's possible that a similar program was being developed in secret.
But Chihiro adamantly shook her head and said,
No, that's not it. It just looks really familiar to me.
Kyoko looked over Chihiro's trembling shoulders to peer at the screen, and that's when she noticed.
This program. Chihiro, did you create this?
All the ultimate programmer could do was nod weakly.
Whoa.
We created the Monokuma program?
What?
But it wasn't never really controlled from the outside. It was always controlled from that room that Junko was in.
But Monokuma woke up after Junko died. So someone was controlling from the outside.
Oh, okay. That's if they put that into perspective.
Yeah.
That would kind of make sense then. Yeah.
First floor, main hall.
I can still narrate.
You
if
sure?
You want. Yeah.
Okay.
no problem.
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Mukuro continued moving forward and was fortunate enough to not encounter Sakura or Mondo. With no interference from anyone, she made her way to a hall as large as the gym and stood before the sealed main entrance. Suddenly, Monokuma popped out from the shadows to block her path. Within this hall that resembled a nuclear bomb shelter, replete with all manner of heavy weaponry. Monokuma's silhouette was conspicuously out of place here. His laughter rang throughout the room as he wiggled his body from side to side.
Pats, hello. It goes well. How about you?
Hey.
Nice to see you. What were you doing at the nurse's office? Did you eliminate your rival for Makoto's affections? Or did you help play matchmaker instead? Either way, don't you think it's kind of adorable to put Makoto and Kyoko in this kind of situation together? If this were a suspense film, those two would be the last couple standing. But if this was a horror film, they'd just die anyway. The killer was alive all along. Splat goes the blood, plop goes the meat. I'm a huge fan of endings where the characters think they're gonna live, but they're really headed to a final destination. Wait, what the hell is a tenation? What does that even mean?
Despite Monokuma's angry complaints, Mukuro remained unperturbed. She continued to stare icy daggers at Monokuma, as if she was waiting for him to finish speaking.
Well, anyway, I'm just so sad right now. A regulation-breaking delinquent is disrupting the harmony of this peaceful academy. I can't even keep one of my students from running wild. Time to say goodbye to your incompetent headmaster. I'm gonna use Monokuma Evolution to become a big Magnum headmaster and mold you into a decent student.
As soon as he said that, Monokuma extended his claws and waddled toward Mukuro.
So if I'm gonna mold you, then I gotta kill you first.
Right as he finished speaking, Monokuma suddenly charged at Mukuro like a spiked volleyball. But Mukuro was faster and dodged Monokuma's attack. She jumped back, keeping her distance from Monokuma just in case his claws could extend even longer. Just then, a shadowy figure appeared next to her. Mukuro twisted her body to its limits and just narrowly evaded the figure's attack. When she landed on the floor, she immediately saw...
Uh-oh. More poo-hoo-hoos.
Yes.
That's good, Pats. Glad that it's been good for you. So what does the immortal killer want anyway? Are you gonna tell the others the truth and escape with them? Even though you know what the outside world is like right now?
Two Monokumas were speaking to Mukuro in unison.
Honestly, I don't mind if you do that. I can just imagine the look on everyone's face when they discover the truth. It fills me with such heart-throbbing excitement.
The two Monokumas continued to speak in stereo sound.
You said you'd destroy my plans, but there's no happy ending waiting for you no matter which route you take. And you only have yourself to blame for that. Don't tell me you thought they'd be grateful to you. Even if you guys escape here, do you think they'll still forgive you when they get a whiff of that nasty air outside? Some of them might prefer to stay in the school, and some of them might resent you for being kind and showing them the truth. But then again, this is all your fault anyway, so it doesn't really matter what they think of you. Monokuma made a little mistake.
Despite facing down two Monokumas, Mukuro's expression didn't waver. She understood that controlling two Monokumas simultaneously was a piece of cake for Junko. Mukuro drew an arm-length metal bar from seemingly nowhere and readied herself.
I'm the protagonist.
It was the remains of the IV stand from the nurse's office, sharpened into a pointed weapon. With her weapon in hand, Mukuro responded in a cold, mechanical tone.
That's fine. I'm already used to that.
None of the fear she felt when Monokuma suggested that Makoto would blame her appeared on her face. Her path was clear to her now, and she calmly issued her demand to Monokuma.
Junko, open the gates.
The shock of such a straightforward demand left both Monokumas momentarily speechless, but soon they replied.
Huh? Why? So we can all leave together.
Another straightforward answer. Both Monokumas faced each other and began gesturing as if they were whispering to one another. Mukuro knew their movements were intended to mock her. Unmoved, she continued to speak to Junko directly.
I think they'll understand if I show them the outside world. And then they'll stop doubting Makoto.
You always find new ways to disappoint me, Mukuro. Did you forget why the school has an air filtration system?
It's true that the air outside is polluted, but I don't think it'll kill us
Yeah,
immediately.
because we know they walked straight out of there at the end of the original game.
Besides, it's better than being trapped in the school and forced to kill each other.
How can you be sure the others will go along with you? You know what I mean, right? Before the former headmaster got turned into space dust, he interviewed the others and they all agreed that they wanted to stay in the school. That was before their memories had even been erased. Do you really want to betray their wishes?
Mukuro blinked and slowly stepped forward.
I don't really care about their feelings.
Huh?
You're all I need, Junko. So don't worry. I'm always watching out for you. I'm going to make sure you feel despair, and I'm going to make Makoto and the others happy. If you want to revel in your own despair that badly, then I'll trust the hope Makoto gave me and take my chances with them instead of you.
Mukuro's brief but powerful words caused the Monokumas to turn and talk to each other again.
Oh my, this doesn't look good at all, Monokuma, eh? This child doesn't realize her own hypocrisy. She's so disappointing that she's starting to reach critical mass, right, Monokuma B?
The two Monokumas looked at Mukuro, who seemed ready to destroy them, and said,
Well, I just want to see. Okay, we're at 465 pages.
"Eh,
Woo!
yeah."
I'm just curious. I'm like, how long has this been going for? And said,
What do you think, Monokuma C?
County Control 3. Mukuro was taken aback by the question, but her instincts suddenly kicked in and she immediately dodged away. At that moment, a third Monokuma, claws extended, passed by where her head had been previously. This new Monokuma unit landed with several spins and faced Mukuro, who had clung to the remains of a surveillance camera, still attached to the ceiling.
I agree with you both, A and B.
The three Monokumas lined themselves up. To the students locked inside the academy, this sight would have been akin to a nightmare.
Right on!
The three units began speaking in perfect harmony as their 6 eyes looked up at Mukuro. Suddenly, they each jumped away in 3 separate directions and kicked off one of the walls. The path of each unit's triangular attack all converged on a single point, Mukuro, who was still clinging to the ceiling. She was surrounded by razor-sharp claws coming at her from different directions. But this situation wasn't even a nightmare to Mukuro. Compared to the time she fended off 3 assassins who had invaded her camp one night back when she was still a member of Fenrir, this was nothing. This thought crossed Mukuro's mind as she dangled from the ceiling with one hand and thrashed her limbs around like a tornado. Intercepted by this move, the Monokumas fell to the floor with a loud crash. Mukuro landed on the ground and chased after one of them, brandishing her metal bar. Suddenly, she stopped moving and took a huge leap back. One of the Monokumas exploded with a deafening roar. He had detonated the bomb inside of himself in an attempt to take Mukuro down with him. But thanks to her honed battlefield instincts, Mukuro managed to avoid the explosion. She looked toward the hallway, expecting the explosion to have attracted the attention of Sakura and others. But she didn't hear any footsteps approaching. Monokuma's voice rang from within the dense smoke.
Oh, you don't have to worry. I already told the other students to assemble in the cafeteria. They were eager to follow my orders after I told them I'd disarm the poison gas and that a special police unit was coming to get them. I'm pretty sure Kyoko and others are all in the cafeteria by now. I'm sure Makoto is with them too. I doubt Sakura will get too rough with him, but I'm sure Byakuya will torture Makoto once he wakes up. I can just imagine him rubbing salt or pouring soy sauce into his open wounds. Man, I'm getting all hot and bothered right now.
She listened to Monokuma's overlapping voices. Mukuro tilted her head slightly and asked,
I'm pretty sure they're going to find out that you lied about that special police unit. Are you really okay with that?
No worries. Once I've dealt with you, I don't care at all if they find out I was lying. You still don't get it. You're such a disappointment.
It suddenly dawned on Mukuro. Not the reason why Mukuro didn't care if not the reason why Monokuma didn't care if the students found out he lied, but rather that the voices of the Monokumas in the smoke were gradually increasing in number. As the smoke started to clear, the shadows of 3 Monokumas appeared. The one that exploded couldn't have revived, so a new one must have come to take its place. But there's no way Mukuro only heard 3 Monokumas talking just now. As if to prove her hearing had been accurate, the Monokumas suddenly made their move. The 3 Monokumas bent over and began twirling their upper bodies. From behind them, new Monokumas emerged like after images brought to life. The second row of Monokumas mimicked the earlier ones with only 1 frame of delay, revealing even more Monokumas behind them. Eventually, Mukuro realized that there were 3 rows containing 10 Monokumas each.
Did you know this is called a circle dance?
Monokuma's 30 voices spoke in perfect harmony as they divulged information that had nothing to do with the current situation. Mukuro already knew that multiple Monokumas were positioned throughout the academy, but only Junko knew how many Monokumas actually existed. Mukuro had no way of knowing if these 30 Monokumas were part of a larger contingent. The flock of 2-tone teddy bears continued to twirl around. Mukuro felt like she was being bombarded with hypnotic images. But faced with this abnormal sight, the ultimate soldier remained calm and maintained her focus. She was nothing like the girl who had panicked earlier in the gym when Makoto was impaled. As she stood before 30 emissaries of despair, she slowed her breathing and allowed her heart rate to accelerate. It was instinct, not fear or panic, that sent her blood racing throughout her body, speeding up the reaction time of her cells. As her senses sharpened, the Monokumas began speaking to her again.
Don't worry, I'll make sure Makoto doesn't die. As long as everyone lives, I can reset their memories as many times as I want.
Yeah.
That's right. All your effort, hope, dreams, and determination are going right in the garbage heap.
The Monokumas took turns speaking in groups of 10, as if the mastermind controlling the Monokumas wanted to show off her ability to manipulate them. However, the ultimate soldier knew what the true purpose behind all this was. She strained her ears to their limit and noticed a certain sound hidden among the Monokuma's voices. Mukuro's face remained perfectly still as she kicked off the floor. The moment she moved to the side, a roaring sound shook the entrance hall. The ceiling-mounted turrets in front of the gate started raining bullets down on Mukuro. The Monokumas were just the mastermind's decoy while she tried to blow her away. As if further trapping her, the Monokumas charged at Mukuro throughout the storm of bullets. Mukuro guessed that the mastermind programmed their movements in advance so that they wouldn't get hit by a single bullet. She ran for the gates, evading waves of bullets and claws every step of the way, programming 30 Monokumas and 2 turrets while also predicting Mukuro's escape route. This would be considered impossible for anyone, but Mukuro knew it was possible for Junko. As ultimate despair, she possessed despair-inducing abilities that surpassed the capabilities of any normal human. Her display of power was only for filling Mukuro with despair. Despair. The scene playing out in front of Mukuro was brimming with despair. The adorably deadly Monokumas laughed and danced like reapers as bullets whizzed throughout the air. It was despair to the point of absurdity, and it was all for Mukuro. But in the presence of such despair, Mukuro felt a strange serenity.
For me? Junko's doing all this? For me? Junko, are you watching me right now?
In the end, perhaps Mukuro really was a disappointment. She clenched her fists.
Junko, thank you.
The sound of gunfire overshadowed her whisper, and Mukuro fell completely silent. As a member of Ultimate Despair, Mukuro's heart was filled with joy. Though she was filled with emotion, her eyes had lost their sparkle. Silence filled the air. Even the gunfire from the turrets seemed to stop for a moment. But that was only an illusion to the one controlling Monokuma. Something strong enough to silence the gunfire and avoid being picked up by the senses spread throughout the school, with Mukuro at the center.
I'll make sure I do this right.
With that final thought, she closed her mouth and turned off her emotions. As she ran through the waves of scorching bullets, the air around her began to grow colder. As this coolness spread into her heart, it began to beat in a mechanical fashion. Several seconds later, Mukuro's body and mind melded together and became one with her surroundings. Her temperature now dominated the battlefield. Despair, bullets, and Monokumas filled the area. Mukuro predicted their movements and jumped into the air without any hesitation. One of the Monokumas jumped at her, but she avoided his attack, kicked his body, and launched herself in midair. Bullets pierced through the space Mukuro was previously occupying, striking the falling Monokuma right through its internal bomb. The impact of the bullet caused it to explode, sending fiery Monokuma parts everywhere. As she rode the blast wave, Mukuro balanced herself in midair as she kicked away 2, 3 Monokumas that leapt after her. She moved so gracefully she was practically flying. In contrast, the Monokumas threw themselves into the path of oncoming bullets, exploding one after the other. Some of them exploded near the main entrance, but their blasts didn't even leave a scratch. With full control over the entrance hall, Mukuro evaded bullets and confirmed that the bombs inside Monokuma weren't enough to destroy the door.
Do you want a break?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to take over, feel free.
Yeah. This is like so much to read. But she refused to stop. Mukuro needed to get information on what she must do to escape the academy. She had no desire to kill Junko. Mukuro wanted to kill Junko with despair by instilling hope into the future of Makoto and the other students. That was Mukuro's ultimate goal: get information. In contrast to her determination, her mouth stayed shut. But this did not mean Mukuro was not currently speaking to Junko. This situation, this battle of death and destruction, was a conversation of sorts for Mukuro. All she knew how to do was fight.
She thought she wasn't interested in anything else. She thought she didn't need anything else. All Mukuro needed to be was a sword to fulfill her sister's desire for despair. That purpose alone was the crux of her existence, and she lived her entire life convincing herself that she couldn't do anything else. That's why her power was like a language to Mukuro. A battle to the death revealed more about her heart than mere words ever could. Her words were in the wind of savagery that blows across the battlefield, uprooting others who also speak the language of violence. This was true even against her sister. When Junko would berate her sister, Mukuro couldn't talk back. All she could do was cower and apologize profusely. But it's different now. For the first time, Junko was using a language her sister actually recognized. The child of despair who tore the world apart was speaking to her sister with the language of power. Mukuro's heart filled with joy. For that reason, she strengthened her focus on her conversation with Junko, and that emotion began to gradually disappear. On this frigid battlefield, Mukuro continued her heated conversation. Endless rounds of despair fired from the school's turrets. But Mukuro's words intercepted every last violent shot that threatened to shatter her body and mind in half. She quickly realized that the Monokumas hadn't decreased in number at all, no matter how many she kept destroying.
Yeah.
Why do I have a new symbol now that's like an arrow instead of the book? I have so many questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Samantha, I can understand. It's like just a lot of like detailed descriptions about what's going on.
Description.
It's like, whew.
In this one scene.
I know. Anybody know how much longer the novel is, too?
Yeah, because we might have to end the stream and come back for another one.
Yeah.
I think there's way more left, though.
It feels like it.
Yeah, she hasn't met up with the others at all again.
I know. Not only that, she noticed that more Monokumas had been joining the fray until there were nearly 50 of them for Mukuro to fight. But Mukuro's resolve wouldn't break so easily. As she continued to wield her power, her heart began to fill with something that was neither a hope nor despair. She learned despair from being abandoned by Junko, and she learned hope from her acts of violence. For Mukuro, who had no interest in this world, this small space in front of the gate was a reflection of her life, a representation of her perfect hope, perfect world. This disappointing girl, filled with endless disappointment, who knew of no other way to live, continued her lonely dance. She surrendered herself to the rhythm of despair, which accompanies the music of hope.
Oh, I finished. I guess,
Okay.
Yeah, this might be a good place to stop.
Yeah. I think we might stop there for today, guys.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Even if it's almost done, like, I'm so tired.
I really like it, though. Like, it just gives a lot more description for those two characters of Junko and Mukuro that we never got in the actual game.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the story.
Yes.
I wish they had, like, cut down on the fight scenes a little bit.
Yeah, the actual fight scenes.
Yeah, like, describing, like, everything. I'm just like, whew.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That is a lot to take in. Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it so far, so we will pick this up next week. Okay, everyone's like, I've never seen this before. I got nothing for you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Fair
I think
enough.
we're only like, just like halfway through this.
I'd agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that seems right to me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if it's cool with everybody, we'll pick this up next Saturday. Thank you very much for joining us, though.
Yeah.
Especially since most of you guys, if not all of you guys, are like, I've never seen this. I don't know nothing.
3 hours of novel reading. This is a large
Yeah, the read-along, exactly.
read along.
It's been fun. With that, tomorrow I've got another Cat Girls elevator game coming out and a Gander. And then a couple days to finish up Levon's Ending in Ashen Hawk. And then we're back to Taisho Alice, I think on Tuesday or Wednesday. And Max should be here on Monday for Persona 5 Royal.
Yeah.
And we continue the palace in there, hopefully. So, there you go. That's the sketch coming up.
Yep.
Alright.
Definitely.
Thanks again, guys. Hope you have a good rest of your weekend.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And yeah, take care. Have a good rest of your weekend. Okay.
Alright. Take it away.
Team Market blasting out again!